Elon Musk has stated that the entire conversation around the Elon Musk-Donald Trump interview has generated over 1 billion views. On the space itself, it's around 27 million total people listen, and it's been less than 24 hours with peak concurrent viewership of 1.3 million at the time. And oh boy, is the media angry. NBC News is like 1.2 billion people were exposed to fake news. That's how they're reporting it. The Independent says, here's how you can delete your account because Elon Musk is spreading disinformation and misinformation. So we'll talk about that. Plus, we got the cover from Time Magazine. The glorious and beautiful Kamala Harris picture that they've made. And what's funny is we had this conversation around the Donald Trump assassination attempt and the cover they were supposed to put out for August 5th, which was their next cover. It was Donald Trump raising his fist, yelling, fight, fight, fight. But of course, we heard journalists complaining that the image was helping Donald Trump. So then Time Magazine changed it to a picture of the rally with no Trump in it. And they said, no, we're doing several covers. Guess what cover they actually released? That's right. Kamala Harris replacing Joe Biden. Now, that happened a week later. That's right. They're in the bag for Kamala Harris. We'll talk about that. And then we got big news, probably much bigger news, if you ask me. The DOJ is preparing to break up Google and Alphabet, shatter them into splinters and cast them out to the wind. We will see, because a court already ruled that Google was an illegal monopoly. So this is the next step, which could be big news. So we'll talk about that, plus a bunch of other stories. But before we do, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and buy Cast Brew coffee. Why? Because you'll be supporting the show and you'll love coffee. I know I do. I do a double shot of espresso with a protein shake in the morning, and I love it. I do Appalachian Nights. I do it as an espresso shot, but you can get it. You can do whatever you want with it. We also got Rise with Roberto Jr., Ian's Graphene Dream. And for those who must drink responsibly but want that extra edge, we got Alex Stein's Primetime Grind 2 times caffeine. Look at his face. He's just screaming by this coffee. When you buy Cast Brew, you're supporting the show, so consider it, castbrew.com. But also head over to timcast.com. Right now, click Join Us, become a member. Membership sustains the show and all the work that we do. So if you think the show is valuable, if it's good, if our calling out the corporate press and the lies and the manipulations is worth it to you, click Join Us, become a member. We're going to have that uncensored call-in show coming up at 10 p.m. tonight. So you as members actually get to submit questions and even join the show. If the audience chooses you to say your question's good, it's you. You're on the show. So smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is James Klug.
How you guys doing? James Klug. I am a YouTuber. I post political commentary and street videos, and I'm really excited to be here, you guys.
Right on. We got Taylor Silverman hanging out.
Hey guys, I'm Taylor Silverman. I work here on the show Boonies HQ. We post new skateboarding content on Fridays, so check it out. Hannah
Cool.
Claire's here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm Hannah Claire Brimmel. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. Guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. You can check out Scanner's work at Timcast News, and we should get started.
Here's the big news. Musk boasts of 1 billion views for No Limits X interview with Trump. Former President Trump's space post received 73 million views alone, according to Elon Musk. Well, it's much higher than that right now. Currently, the post itself has 235 million views, which is massive, and 26.7 million actually listened to the recording. So we had about, I think it was 2.2 million total people. These are insane numbers. I want to stress this to you guys. Well, the left is coming out now and saying that, like, Trump, look at this, Team Trump makes unhinged crowd-sized claim about Elon Musk interview. I want to explain this. The Donald Trump Elon Musk interview last night peaked at 1.3 million concurrent viewers. And we all heard that. And that's massive because we here at Timcast IRL tend to do around like 40K, sometimes more. Well, we had 85,000 people watching last night to hear our commentary, though light as it was, our commentary on the space. When the show wrapped up, this is huge. The total space viewership right at the end was 2.2 million. Now, that sounds low. It does. But this is actually massive because that means that on average, people watched over an hour. They listened for over an hour. That is insane retention. People tuned in and they did not leave. You take a look at people's YouTube retention numbers. You come back to me. Most people are probably getting like 7 to 10 minutes, if that. Donald Trump pulled off over an hour probably an hour and a half. It's a 3-hour long feed. So we're looking at probably 2 hours or longer that the average person actually listened to make those numbers make sense. Now, of course, the media is losing their collective minds. NBC News says Elon Musk's misleading election claims have accrued 1.2 billion views on X, new analysis says. And they published the story a few days ago. But it is funny because when you Google search 1 billion views for Trump, guess what Google sends you? Clearly, after we heard, I think it was, what was it, Washington Post? Was that the reporter who asked them to censor the interview? Do you remember this?
Yeah, I believe it was Washington Post.
Washington Post?
Yeah, I believe
there was a guy who was like,
I was thinking the European Union had asked them to censor themselves.
But there was that press briefing with Karine Jean-Pierre, and the reporter's like, what can you do to stop Donald Trump from giving interviews? And they were like, and she's like, well, maybe, I don't know. They are losing their minds. Take a look at this. How to delete your X account after Elon Musk's vile site helps fuel far-right riots. Yo, Elon Musk, shout out.
I mean, they just snapped. They just snapped because of those ratings. And it was funny because I even saw Democrats trying to dunk on Donald Trump and Elon after the space, saying that there wasn't that many people because they didn't understand the concept of like concurrent listeners.
Right.
In the actual space. They weren't getting that. They were just thinking, oh, this is it. They weren't understanding that it was incredibly impressive. But these people do. That's why they're losing it.
Well, they like to play dirty games. But it's all lies and manipulations. I mean, look, when they come out and tell you to delete your account because Elon Musk is vile or whatever, it's like, oh, come on. Elon Musk invited Kamala Harris onto an X space.
Yeah, these are not spaces that are closed off to her. She's just opting not to use them. And, ABC, which I personally think is in the pocket of the Biden-Harris administration. I was listening to a reporter this morning say, well, it was delayed for 40 minutes because of some technical issues. Elon Musk is claiming it's this DDoS attack, but he never offered any proof. I mean, they want it to be something where this is a massive failure for Trump when ultimately these things are good. Even the Harris campaign was saying like, oh, they can't do a live stream in 2024. And it's like, you guys use Zoom.
Yeah, the only people that really cared about it being late were the people that were excited to write about some form of screw up. Yeah, if it was a problem the entire space, it probably would have been kind of a disaster, but the connection was good. As soon as that delay was done, as soon as, that was all worked out, it was smooth.
Yeah.
And it was a great conversation, and more of an interview, but still, it was excellent. Trump did great. Elon did great. And, they're trying to spin it as this massive disaster when it just absolutely was not. If anything, people were having a fun time on X waiting for the space.
Right. It's actually kind of a cool emergence of new technology that has gotten really big under Elon Musk's ownership. And again, Elon Musk is the enemy of a lot of corporate media, as is Donald Trump. So, of course, they want it to be bad. But the reality is, if you looked at the Harris campaign statement, it just looked hysterical, right? They're saying, we're not going to even call it X or whatever. Like, are you children? What's happening?
Did you guys ever get the impression that these corporate media outlets are actually one conglomerate outlet under one a single leadership? Because it just seems like they all say the same thing.
The Democrat Party, you mean?
Well, here's a Google search. Here's the talking point came out. CBS News, Donald Trump's live chat with Elon Musk plagued with glitches. So there's glitches. Reuters, rambling Trump. Then we've got New York Times, 2-hour ramble. Then we've got Hollywood Reporter. Elon Musk got EU disinformation warning before rambling interview. How many different, here we go, France 24, Musk's rambling, The Guardian, rambling interview, ramble. The USA Today, rambling Trump-Musk interview marred by tech issues. Times of India, triumphant return to X with another rambling roast of Kamala Harris. They got their talking point. Listen, the likelihood that all of these people are sitting there and then just at the exact moment, like there was some kind of spiritual connection where they could sense each other's emotions, decided to use the word rambling, I really doubt.
Impossible.
I'm not suggesting, however, there's like a cabal who contacted all these outlets. What it actually is it's more like dominoes falling over. The New York Times says it was rambling, and they go, yeah, it was rambling. Yeah, that's the word. And then everybody adopts the same phrase. Let me stress, I ramble. Donald Trump and Elon Musk had a conversation.
Right. I mean, rambling is their only critique of Trump's speeches. I feel like you could go back to 2016. They're constantly saying, he's rambling. But that's becoming a more and more hollow argument to me. And, to your point, so much of the media's sort of exact verbiage is them just only listening to each other and repeating it. The other day, there was this article out about how all of these outlets were reporting that Kamala Harris was about to flip the script on immigration. That this was the big.
What about the joy? What about joy as well?
They specifically use the term "flip the script." Like all of them are saying the exact same thing because they're all getting the same central message.
I want to point something out. Okay, what you just showed us right there, that the corporate media saying he was rambling. We all listened to the space. We all thought, hey, it was pretty good. It was actually better than I thought it was going to be. To be totally honest with you, it was better than I thought it was going to be. They covered a wide variety of topics and all that stuff. But the rambling, this is the same corporate media that told you that, it's just a lisp. No. Joe Biden is super sharp, all of this stuff. And then they hear someone talking like that and they say, oh, rambling, mumbling, all slurring. Are you guys serious?
I've watched Biden speeches and been like, oh, this guy's not looking good. And the next day it'll be like, he gives strong pushback to whatever they think he's doing well. Like they've already decided how these people are because they have a narrative they're trying to maintain.
Here's the question, though. There was a report from The Verge saying that sources at X claimed there was no distributed denial of service attack against the platform. And I believe the simple answer is there absolutely was. And I'll explain in a second. But first, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you think, here's the argument. It was technical issues and Elon screwed up, so he just claimed it was a DDoS attack. Or someone attacked Twitter to try and shut the speech down. Which do you think it was?
I think the most likely scenario is DDoS.
Yeah, what do you guys think?
I think it's more likely that there was some sort of attack. Elon said that they had run tests to make sure that they could handle the volume of traffic that the site would be having. I also, before I forget this, I'm still stuck on that headline saying that it was fueling far-right riots. What are they referring to?
No, that's a different one. That wasn't in reference to Elon Musk's interview with Trump. Actually, that might be.
But
no, that was from the 8th.
Disinformation.
They're talking about him calling out Keir Starmer in the UK.
What riots have happened
in the UK?
Have you not been?
There have been riots.
Oh,
in
it's
the UK?
been nuts.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd imagine you'd probably be interested because it's basically like a lot of white people in the UK are angry that they feel that there's a two-tier justice system between the Muslim community and the native British community. Mm-hmm. But the reason I brought that article up was not to say it was about the event. It's that when you search Elon Musk 1 billion, Google gives you that story instead of they generated 1 billion views in conversation. Mm-hmm. But I'll throw it to you. Do you think DDoS or do you think
I think
Muslim?
DDoS, absolutely. I mean, I almost want to argue the other point just so we're not all saying the same thing. But, the reality is you can't have a major government institution, the EU commissioner, come out and say, hey, we're going to be watching you, and not think that anybody would be like, hey, it's my prerogative as a good citizen of the world to try and take this down, especially people who are sort of just, anywhere from politically motivated to just like trolling Musk who want to see him fail.
And that's exactly it. So that's why, because I was asked this earlier by our IT dude, Andrew. He was like, do you really think it was a DDoS? I don't know. And I'm like, look, after the Ron DeSantis thing, do you really think Elon Musk was like, let's have no server expansion, let's just
roll the dice and see what happens?
Yeah, like he didn't. They're planning for the front runner for the presidency. They knew what happened with Ron DeSantis. Anything you could plan for, like loading up more servers and expanding and stuff, these are all things that you would have ready to go instantly. So in the event that Elon Musk, I mean, look, there's a percentage chance that Elon just screwed up.
They also stress test it for that. They brought this up before.
This is my point.
Yeah.
So in any likelihood that this was not a DDoS, what you're arguing is that Elon is just a moron who literally did nothing. I think that's stupid. But a lot of leftists are like, Elon's so dumb. What makes more sense is Elon Musk, the Twitter team, there's a lot of employees there, prepared for what would happen if they got server overload. Elon says they tested for 8 million concurrents, which means in the event they started getting the server hug of death, they activate their mitigations. When you prepare for that, you can say, okay, what's happening? Too many users. We need to get more server space. We've dealt with this before. You call the company, you say, expand our access. We need more bandwidth, et cetera, et cetera. That's done really quickly. Distributed denial of service is harder because you don't know what they're hitting and where they're hitting it and what's shutting you down because you're getting caught off guard for something you didn't prepare for. So I think the simple solution is, like you mentioned, the EU outright says, don't you dare do this. Look at the media's reaction right now. Delete your account. He was rambling. They're calling it a dumpster fire. They're saying it was awful.
Don't you think they had the delete your account article like teed up before? And they're like, we'll just wait till he does something. Then we'll tell people they should delete their accounts. I mean, I think there is a big anti-Elon Musk sentiment that is linked to sort of the similar irrationality that there is for anti-Trump. I don't need everyone to love Trump and love all of his policies, but it becomes almost like hysterical the way that a lot of people critique Trump. irrational and over the top. They don't even look at their candidate and leverage the same kind of complaints because they're turning a blind eye, so they continue to drag Trump through the mud even when it's not warranted.
Real quick, too, the delete your account is based on the rioting in the UK. The threats of arresting Elon Musk are based on the rioting in the UK. And I think the reason the EU threatened Elon Musk is because he's been calling out the Prime Minister of the UK and been talking about what's going on with the UK riots. For sure.
All EU countries have to fall in line on that front. There's only one narrative that they're allowed to have.
Right. It's
even when it's
the
against
uniform
the people
narrative
of the country.
Right. They want that shield. The biggest problem about X is the fact that they lost it. They used to have that protection. They don't have it anymore. They have Facebook that falls in line. They obviously have Instagram. They have YouTube. They have all these platforms that fall in line. And X is actually one spot where you can get another, that opposition or whatever it may be. You get all other stories, and they can't control that. I think also Elon Musk, we've already seen this already, but he's going to start going deeper and deeper into the political sphere the more they're just throwing more mud at him and more mud at him, because he's going to start realizing, he already realizes he's going to continue to keep diving deeper into that because they're not going to stop. They're going to ramp up this rhetoric. 10 times worse than what it is right now.
They said to get him issue an arrest warrant for the guy. They're nuts.
It'll get worse.
All right, here we go. From The Independent, how poking fun at Donald Trump's lisp could backfire. Here we are mocking a man for his speech impediment rather than engaging with the substance of his words. It's a dangerous game and completely unnecessary. First, Donald Trump didn't have a lisp. I've been screaming about this nonstop. It's called a slush, okay? It's called a slush, not a lisp. A lisp is when you talk like this, and a slush is when you talk like that. Slush. However, I'd like to explain this story. This is called. I would refer to this as a negative hit, in a sense. What they're doing is they're trying to seem nice. Don't make fun of Trump's lisp. What they're really doing is saying, "Hey, Trump's got a lisp." Mm-hmm. That's the goal of this. So they write, "There is a lot to criticize Trump for. You could fill books with it. Blah blah blah. He doesn't appear to be a nice man. Blah blah blah." And yet that seems to be the takeaway. They say, whichever way you slice it, there's so much juicy material to choose from when critiquing the once and maybe future president that there really is no need to pull him up on a speech impediment. And yet that seems to be the takeaway. Blah, blah. The main takeaway is that Trump seems to have developed a lisp, something which his campaign actively denied and supporters pinned to audio issues. Denying reality is another strong Trump criticism. The lisp is very clearly there. The thing is, so what? The issue is with what Trump is saying, not with what he's... I actually agree. And I think most Trump supporters agree with this guy. I love that he's like, this is going to backfire on us. It is. You know why? Because they said that Joe Biden had a stutter.
I know.
And they immediately start attacking Trump because they think he had a lisp.
Yeah, I thought we weren't allowed to go after this stuff. They always use Joe Biden's alleged stutter as his, he overcame a really difficult thing here, when actually I'm not even convinced Joe Biden has a stutter. I think he is just, old and aging rapidly.
At this point, if Trump really screws up, even if he says something that's just off the rails, right? Just say he has a lisp, bro. You're not really making fun of somebody that has a lisp. It might not apply to whatever you're talking about, but it doesn't matter. That's the new argument.
Also, what's more likely that Trump has suddenly, spontaneously developed a slush because it's not a lisp.
That's right.
Tim was a speech pathologist in a different life, and so he suddenly has this on this big interview, or it was an audio issue. What is more likely? Because I think it's the audio issue. I don't understand this spontaneous slur they think he has.
So who shared? Somebody was sharing the video of Trump actually talking on the space, and there's nothing. It just sounds like him. Was that audio compression for the space? What exactly was that?
So Carter Banks on the show while we were watching is an audio engineer who listens to people speaking and singing all the time. And he was like, yeah, that seems like a de-esser or audio compression issue, which takes the certain S sounds and then tries to cut them, and then it makes it shh, shh, shh. So Trump's talking and it's going like that.
Right. I thought it sounded more, even if it was let's say you're comparing it to a lisp. Lisps, they actually get picked up. It kind of sounded just weird to me.
One of the issues was
sounded off.
Trump would, if you listen to the whole thing, you'll notice that sometimes he'll speak with an S and sometimes you'll hear a weird slush, but it's not always, which is not indicative of a speech impediment. If he did, it'd be saying it all the time. Also, the idea that he developed it spontaneously, like you mentioned, is weird. Mm-hmm. Some people said maybe it's because he was looking down. I don't know. He was looking down and spit was pooling in his mouth. I have no idea, but I'll tell you this. Okay, I'll take it. Let's start making fun of Trump's lisp, they say, and Joe Biden's stutter. And then as soon as they bring it up, be like, yeah, and Joe Biden couldn't talk at all. Like, oh, and then when they say something like, but he's not going to be president anymore, I'll be like, oh, okay, so you think he's fair game now. So if the defense is, but Joe Biden's not running for president anymore, you'd be like, oh, okay, so is he fair game? Can we make fun of people with speech impediments? Because I'll go for it. But I want to stress this one too. They called J.D. Vance weird. That also backfired. Because a bunch of LGBTQ people came out and said, I feel like I'm being traumatized again, like when I was in high school and being called weird. And now the Democrats are doing it too, and it's making me feel bad.
Right.
You've made us sad, so please stop.
Yeah.
A lot of their stuff does backfire. One of the critiques, again, I watched this ABC interview, talking about the X space last night, and one of their critiques was, Trump continued to talk about Biden, who is not even in the race, and they played the quote of Trump saying, I beat Biden, which he did beat him in the primary. Like, he did better than him at the debate, and Biden was the person who won the Democratic primary. So the fact that they're now trying to be like, you can't even talk about Biden, he's so off topic, nothing makes sense. It really does feel to me like sort of a grasping at straws to try and make Trump look kind of out of touch or something, as they try to subtly, rapidly put together this "we're of the working people" candidacy for Kamala and Walz.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember thinking last night, I thought that Donald Trump was actually doing a good job of connecting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, making sure not to kind of separate them. Yeah, he separated them when they were talking about the debate and dropping out and all that, or being forced out and all that. But I thought he actually did a really good job at connecting the two. So when you're mentioning one, you're mentioning the other, just to remind the American people that they are in it together and they're destroying your lives together.
It got much better later on in the night. It started off very interviewy. Elon seemed kind of nervous.
Seemed nervous, yeah.
And then later,
is fair.
Yeah. Later on in the night, though, when Trump was getting more relaxed and he started talking, it was getting funnier. Mm-hmm. And what was that line where it was like Putin said no way, and I was like way, and everybody's quoting that. There was a bunch of funny stuff like that. That's what Trump needs to do, and that's what I liked in 2016, though I did not vote for him. Is you go to these rallies, he does stand up, doing these interviews. I would actually recommend this. Anybody who interviews Trump should start off with non-political questions and just ask him like what's your favorite place to eat? And then after a couple of minutes, then get into the politics, but get into it lightly so that he can riff on it.
You should ask him about Barron. How is Barron doing? Because Trump lights up when you talk about Barron.
That's a good one.
Ask him about the other boys. But
ask about family. How you doing? Like how have things been?
One of the first moments
Barron?
where I felt like
Where's he
going to college? I mean, maybe we don't want to talk about that yet, but one of the moments in the space where I felt like Trump really seemed sort of familiar was they were talking about the attempted assassination, and he was saying Don and Eric, and he kind of alluded to the fact that they hunt and they use guns, and so he was like, so they told me, that's like this distance in golf, which I think is so funny that like these sons would have to be like converting something to put it into a realm that they know their dad is familiar with. I mean, I feel like we all do that with our parents to a certain extent, and our parents do to us, right? They make comparisons between generations, but they're like, you know about golf, Dad, so here's how we're going to explain this to you. And again, it gives you that like they are an actual family, even if they are, this wealthy real estate family.
We even got a couple people pointing out in the super chats that Elon and Trump put up high quality recordings from the show, and there's no lisp and no slush. So it seems to have just been literally a
spontaneous moment.
The craziest thing about all this stuff is like, okay, I don't think they're actually going to pursue dunking on Donald Trump for having a lisp. I think that would just blow up in their face. But let's say that they do for a quick second. It doesn't matter that high quality footage is there debunking that. They would do it anyways. I mean, it's like I feel like I'm just like living in this like futuristic dystopian future right now, where all these things that you were kind of learning about when you were a kid, all this propaganda, let's say World War II or USSR or whatever it may be, you're seeing it today. I think when you learn about this stuff, you're asking yourself, how could anybody believe this crap? And then you're seeing it actually portrayed today, and they're just flat out lying to the American people about literally anything. I'm not even talking about anything really specific here, just almost anything right now.
Oh,
and it doesn't matter if it's true or false.
Yeah, you could ask them what time it is. They're going to lie to you. It doesn't even matter. You can say, like, which way to the library? And they're going to be like, that way. And they're going to point you to the DMV. And you're going to be like, why did you lie about that? But, I mean, the scary thing is, I also feel like I'm living in a futuristic nightmare dystopia, because I am. And so is everybody else. We're in this right now where we have a presidential candidate with no campaign policy positions who is offering nothing, and people are screaming and cheering. We saw this with Joe Biden. Joe Biden's on stage, and this is for years we've witnessed this, and he's like, we're going to lead true internet, shove it up pressure. And they go, wow. And I'm like, what are they cheering for?
For sure.
I don't get it.
Just the essence of Joe Biden.
Trump gets booed. Trump was at a rally, and this is a famous video. He's like, I did the vaccine. And then everyone's like, boo. And he's like, well, I didn't force you to take it. At Biden rallies and Kamala rallies are just cheering blindly for nothing. I feel like you've got a zombie horde that is going to just scream and cheer for anything. And then Donald Trump struggling to maintain an alliance between the right and moderates to keep them all cheering for him.
Right. And then the mainstream media will be like, and the right is the cult. We're not the cult. It's very weird. Kamala Harris put up this post today saying, whatever, anti-Trump. He's pushing his Project 2025 agenda.
Yeah, there's another one.
He's going to take us backwards. He has, and I think it's almost overdramatic, but the Trump campaign has really distanced themselves from Project 2025. It's very clear that he is not affiliated with it. And she is still pushing this narrative, trying to link that phrase they've used to scare people with Donald Trump. How is that not misinformation? Like, if you're going to police the world about you guys shouldn't be saying this and you're inspiring fear, where is any sort of humility? You don't even have a platform to present, and yet you are falsely representing someone else's platform.
Even worse is the worst border crisis in American history, and then coming out with an ad saying, we're tough on the border. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys. What on earth is going on?
This is what I love about Kamala so much, is that you need real balls to pull this thing off. Like, imagine that I'm sitting here right now, and better yet, it's the Family Guy joke where Peter Griffin's in the elevator with one other person, and he farts and goes, it was you. Like, why are you lying? And who do you think you're lying to? Like, they're going to believe you.
For sure.
Kamala, it takes real balls to stand up on stage and go, on day one, when you elect me, I'm going to fight Big Pharma. And they're like, yay. And then she's like, I can't believe I got away with that. Like, I'm currently the vice president. I could actually do that now. These people are dumb.
Right.
I'd be nervous to stand in front of 3,000 people and just make up BS. Like, if you give me $10, I will cure cancer. And then they all cheer for it. It's like, wow, man.
No, I think it's
Sell a bridge.
Curing cancer is Biden's thing. That's what he talks about. He just rolled out a new initiative about that.
Did that work out? Did you do it?
They have a new thing coming out today. They're very busy at work.
I believe
the Biden administration. Sorry, I cut someone off.
That's why the Harris campaign relies so heavily on bashing Trump, because the rest of it is just blatant lies.
Well, it's like there's nothing there but bashing Trump.
The Trump bashing is oftentimes blatant
lies.
I
love that she said no taxes on tips.
It was,
she also said she's going to raise the minimum wage at that rally in Nevada, right? But
all right, we'll get some information.
It's the only emergence of any kind of platform that we have so far. Meanwhile, she's like, I'm probably going to do an interview by the end of August. Ma'am, what?
Did you guys hear about the burglary at the Trump office in Virginia?
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't think I saw one.
Someone burglarized the Trump campaign office in Virginia, and I had a great super chat in the morning. Sorry, I forget your name. He said, I figured it out. Kamala operative broke into Trump's office to figure out what his next campaign positions are so that she can launch hers next week.
Yeah. Stealing the campaign.
That's the most significant platform we've gotten so far, and she's actually just copying Trump. Like,
I know.
This is pathetic.
No, all right, let's jump before we get into this, because we do got a lot on the Time magazine and Kamala Harris lies. But I want to get into this. This is from the Post Millennial. Trump slams fake news media after flood of negative headlines for record-setting Elon Musk X interview. He says, I spent 2.5 hours last night talking to Elon, a fantastic guy, getting all-time record views and hits, and all the fake news wants to report is the servers crashed because of the tremendous volume, and the show opened a little late. What they should be reporting was the incredible number of people that were listening. I absolutely hate the fake news media, so bad for our country. And then you have this from Elon Musk. He says, a wall of negative headlines was so predictable. They're such NPCs. All this does is drive even more people to listen to the conversation themselves and realize how much the legacy media lies to them. Let me pull this up. First, here's Jack Posobiec. He says, new hoax alert. For all the doubters claiming Trump was lisping on the call, it was just Space's compression. Here he is recorded on a phone in the same conversation sounding perfectly normal. Post this under anyone spreading the lisp hoax. Let's play this.
Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him. Both sides. Yeah. That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
Well, there you go. I mean, there's a longer version with no lisp, but let's take a look at these headlines. And then I want to make a point about where we currently are with our media. Look at this. Trump rambles and slurs. Kamala Harris criticizes Trump for serving self-obsessed. That's not fair. They're calling out Kamala there. Here's a Trump list. So Donald Trump chatted with Elon. Here's the features they see. Losers win. Incompetence rules. Musk Trump talks to our ramble. Here's what the headlines should have been. For any news outlet actually writing news, the headline should be Donald Trump and Elon X space interview reaches 1.3 million concurrents, generates a 3-hour conversation. The point of the news is to tell someone what happened. All of these headlines from all of these outlets, none of them are actually informing anyone of anything.
They could add like the first in American history, which I believe that is for a nominee, right?
The first
time that's ever happened in American history.
What has
a space? Yeah, a space
well,
like
Ron
that.
DeSantis did one.
He was a candidate.
Right.
Sorry,
So it's like
that was before the primary, though, right?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, too. I mean, the one criticism I do think is kind of fair is that it's basically just a radio interview to a smaller amount of people than we've seen in the past.
Right.
Like, if this was a general radio broadcast in 1940, it would have been like 20 million, 30 million at the time, because what else are people going to listen to if it was on TV with very few channels? So I do respect that this is a live stream space where people were actually a part of it and in it, though I don't know they needed to be. It was still massive in the digital age, and that is significant.
Yeah.
But the media should be just saying Elon Musk Donald Trump interview kicks off slightly late following claims of a DDoS attack.
I think
that's a headline.
All the headlines that are so desperately trying to convince people to not go listen to it, especially the lisp claims, it's going to draw more people to go check it out.
Go hear his list.
And hear Trump in full context, which is exactly what they don't want because they rely on cutting out little bits and moving them around in manipulative ways. But when you listen to him, he makes a lot of sense. I think even a lot of moderates hear what he's saying in the space last night and agree with all of it.
I also think Musk is totally right about that when it comes to, they get the right gets to talk about what NPCs the corporate media is. That's going to that's also an opportunity to really wake people up as well, because they can see the media bias. And each of those instances, when it comes to displaying just egregious media bias, is an opportunity to wake some people up that want to actually wake up, right? Not the activists or anything like that, but the people that are noticing these trends. It's a good opportunity to wake them up as well.
This is this is where we were always going. It was predictable 10 years ago. It was predictable 15 years ago. These media outlets, as I've long talked about, news doesn't generate any kind of money or revenue anymore. It used to be that news was a loss leader. The idea was if you were bidding on public airwaves, they'd say, here's the bandwidth that we have available in the public space. Everybody wants it. Who's going to get it? So you'd put a bid in, you'd say, I'll pay X amount to get this range, and I can use this for my broadcast for TV shows or whatever. They'd say, okay, but you have to dedicate 1 hour to news or like 3 hours to news broadcast for the public good. And you'd lose money from it. You wouldn't make a lot of money from it. CNN then comes around and they're like, we're going to do 24-hour news and sell commercials on this because people are going to tune into us. We're going to be in hotels, airports, and it worked for a while. Then once news drops off of TV and news becomes an actual business with Huffington Post and BuzzFeed, the question isn't, is reporting the news going to make us money? The question is, what articles get clicked on? Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of websites where it's literally just, recipes. And then you're trying to find a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. And then it's like 3 pages of a story about how my grandma survived the war and carried chocolate chips and, under her belt or whatever. And then finally you get to the bottom and you're like, oh, there's the recipe. The reason they do that, they want to cram as many ads as possible. And they want to get you to stay on the page as long as possible. So even cookie recipes haven't been saved from this. All of these big news outlets have turned into blogs. They've turned into opinion blogs because all they care about is maximizing clicks. Hence, shout out to the Washington Post for writing right-wing YouTuber Tim Pool buys skate park. There was no news, and it was the top trending story on Washington Post. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw Tim Pool on the top trending on their site.
The thing is, I'm gonna let you guys in on a secret. If you're trying to figure out how to get clicks, put Tim Pool in the headline. Because for whatever reason, people want to know about me, I guess. So a guy from the Washington Post writes this story up. He interviews a guy from Pennsylvania about what's going on in West Virginia because there's no story at all. And it still becomes a top trending article for the website. Either I'm the most important person in the world because the Washington Post has me on the front page, top trending, or they literally have no readers left and they're desperate. And I got to be honest, if you're writing about me, you're at the bottom of the barrel. In fact, you're probably pulling up wood chips.
Well, and I think part of it with you, or at least that headline, to me is like, we are trying to scare people because especially the Washington Post has done a lot of reporting like this, which is basically to say the far right or people we don't like, these conservatives or whatever are creeping into your local areas and they're taking it over and they're ruining it. Like that is you could go through any of the reporting in the Washington Post in the last 2 years and you could find this to be a consistent theme that their journalists are pursuing. If they were actually trying to give the public insight into political trends and attitudes in America, they would really critically go over what Elon Musk said to Donald Trump, which is that he would not consider himself a Republican. He would not consider himself, deeply conservative. In fact, he said he voted for Obama and he would consider himself a moderate Democrat. But he feels motivated to throw his support behind Donald Trump because he does not like the direction the country is going in. If you were an actual unbiased reporter, you would look at that and say, there is something here. And if the wealthiest man in the world, or at least one of the top wealthiest men in the world, is saying wealthy, this, then probably average Americans feel similarly to this as well. And why is that? That would be what they are following. Instead, it's about fear-mongering because fear and sex sell. And that's ultimately what the Washington Post in particular need right now as they try to stay afloat.
I mean, I'm not sure if any of us said this yet, but like, how is the number one story not, hey, when's Kamala going to do a sit-down interview? What's going on here? I mean, I know we've been talking about entertainment aspect of the media. Equally as dangerous is the fact that it's absolutely dominated by psychopaths.
And what about the headline where it's like Elon Musk offers Kamala Harris X space interview, Kamala declines? Mm-hmm. Or Kamala refuses to answer.
Right.
But mainstream media can't critique Kamala for that. Like, I watched a morning show where, one journalist is like, yeah, she's saying she's going to give an interview, but she hasn't yet. But they can't critique her because they don't want to lose that spot for their outlet, right? Like, they're all trying to suck up to the Harris campaign as much as possible so they get these interviews because she's not answering any questions. So I think there is this kind of gross dependency on Kamala Harris' campaign because they think she is the be-all and end-all of life, and they're not willing to do other work to attract readers.
Right. I just think it's a cult.
Yeah.
Look, Donald Trump, I'll keep it simple again because I know a lot of people have heard it, but this is important. The Republican primary was brutal. Ron DeSantis supporters fighting with Trump supporters, friends becoming enemies. I cried. I didn't really cry. But Nikki Haley was in the race. Vivek Ramaswamy. You actually had a lot of former Trump supporters defecting and saying, no, Ron's the guy. Because it's not a cult. And then you had Ron DeSantis supporters saying, F you Trump supporters, Trump is not good, you're nuts, and you're in a cult.
For sure.
And then you have people like me being like, Ron doesn't have the charisma. I like Vivek, but I don't think Vivek is ready. He doesn't have that X factor, although Vivek is incredibly good. If you watch everything he's doing as of late, Vivek is probably one of my favorite guys in the space right now. But Donald Trump just makes the most sense. On the Democrat side, Kamala Harris is installed. Nobody voted for her. She has no campaign policies. And they stand behind her cheering and waving signs, despite the fact that she has no policies. And then it was funny because I got into it with the Krasensteins. We love them. We love the Krasensteins. And I had tweeted Trump either has bad advisors or no advisors. And this guy, I think it was Brian, he's like, when will you admit that it's Trump doing this and not his advisors? That's what cultists do. And I said, Brian, what do you think no advisors means? It means he's making bad decisions and no one's stopping him. And he's like, so you really think that Trump's making bad decisions and not advised and you'd still vote for him? Weird. And I was like, yes, because my alternative is a woman with no campaign policies that no one voted for with a bad track record. And I have no idea what she's for anyway. Not to mention the Biden administration is going to be pro-war, has been pro-war. And with Donald Trump, I know what he's offering, Agenda 47. Not that I think Trump is perfect. We routinely criticize him. And then I said, he hired John Bolton, the crackpot. Trump has made a lot of mistakes, but he's a marginally net positive president that I accept. But these people are in a cult. That's the media.
The only reason why they're able to get away with any of this stuff is just because they have this massive protective shield of, the corporate media, big tech, and all these groups that, it's funny because they dominate all these major institutions, and that's the only reason why they can, totally basically, ignore any criticism or anything like that from any conservative outlets or anything like that. But they'll turn around and they'll tell you that you're brainwashed, you're in the cult, and oh, by the way, we're the resistance. You're not the resistance. Even though we owned everything.
We've had on the show on numerous occasions Clint Russell, who was running for VP of the Libertarian Party, Angela McArdle, the chair of the Mises Caucus for the Libertarian Party, Dave Smith. All of them have been very critical of Donald Trump, especially where it needs to be, to the point where I think Clint's position early on was like, I won't vote for that guy. Look at what he did during COVID. Look what he did with Operation Warp Speed. Dave Smith has never supported Donald Trump.
Right.
And we invite leftists on this show all the time and like, you're in a cult. Yeah, I'm pretty sure cultists don't allow their political rivals to come in and make their case for this. But they just don't want to come on the show because if you look, here's what we're doing. We're pulling up news articles, reading them, and then talking about it. If we brought in one of these leftists and then pulled up, say, like the Burisma scandal with Joe Biden, this actually happened before. We had Hunter Avalon on the show. When I mentioned that Joe Biden said, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting $1 billion, Hunter goes, that never happened. And I was like, here you go. Boom. Pulled it right up, played the video, and he was like, oh. And I'm like, bro, we're not making things up. All we do is read the news and then comment on it. That's it.
Right.
That being said, let's jump to this story. Ladies and gentlemen, what you are seeing is the August 26th, 2024 Time magazine cover of Kamala Harris, and it says, her moment. I'd like to take this moment to, as we show the beautiful, beautiful coverage that Time is giving Kamala Harris, I'd like to show you how they've returned the favor to Donald Trump. Here's how they depict Donald Trump. Meltdown, it says. And then you have this Kamala Harris one from August 26th, but I'd like to point something else out. I have here the year 2024 Time magazine covers. I'd like you to take a moment for those that are watching and look through it. We've got who is that? Is that what's his name? Why can't I? Do you know that guy's name? I'm forgetting his name.
DHS?
This guy? Yeah. What's
Mayorkas?
Yeah, is that him?
Mayorkas.
Okay, then
I can't see the glare.
Issa Rae, I don't know who that is. You got Ukraine, the new anti-Semitism. You've got Gershkovich. Then you've got a guy on a bike. I have no idea what that's about. Then Patrick Mahomes, hey, shout out, you know. Then you've got some medical stuff. Then you've got Donald Trump, it says if he wins. Then you've got, I don't know who that is. Then you've got a gavel banging on a Trump face. Then you've got her way, whatever. And then you've got Kamala Harris. Now, you may notice something that's missing. Have you guys figured out what's missing from these Time magazine covers? No?
I know the answer.
Yeah, well,
so
what
I
is
feel
it?
like I'm
Probably
cheating.
the assassination attempt.
Hey, where's the Trump assassination attempt? They posted that with the image of Donald Trump raising his fist saying, fight, fight, fight. And it was labeled August 5th, 2024. On July 13th, someone tried to take the life of Donald Trump. He survived, but by a few millimeters. Almost right away, these amazing photos emerged of Donald Trump raising his fist. And I think I can actually find that here. Here we go. August 5th, 2024, Time magazine. But that's not listed among their official covers. You see, what ends up happening is some journalists come out and say, stop sharing the photo of Trump after the assassination attempt because it's helping him politically. The next thing we saw was Time magazine showed a different photo of the rally empty in black and white with the American flag hanging down above and no Donald Trump. And that was also August 5th. And they said, no, don't worry. We're doing multiple covers for August 5th. A week later, Joe Biden drops out of the race and Time magazine takes the Donald Trump assassination attempt out and replaces it with Biden walking out and Kamala walking in. Now they have the next cover, this beautiful, what looks like what charcoal portrait of Kamala Harris surrounded by Kamala signs, looking up, smiling. It's her moment. Yeah, the media is biased, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take my word for it. I just showed you.
It's crazy. And also to just...
It's reality.
It's one thing, like, I get the Trump gavel face one, like, they don't like Trump, okay, whatever, but the attempted assassination of Donald Trump is a major moment in American history. And to say anything to the contrary is to be disingenuous to your readers. I get that you don't like him, you don't want to talk about it, but to just sort of delete that cover is actually trying to say, well, we're going to suppress this and put it in the background.
Well, it's what we saw across the entire media. They all did stuff like this. How long were we talking about the assassination attempt for? Like the actual corporate media, maybe a couple weeks max?
And at first,
Maybe?
they wouldn't even say that it was an assassination attempt.
Right.
They were like, the first reports were Trump falls at rally after loud noises.
Right.
Trump falls covered in blood after loud noises, people screaming, and man gets shot in the head.
And then even the FBI director was like, it could have been glass. We don't know. You know, like they just tried to say this wasn't a real thing, even when it was obviously confirmed that he had been shot at the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania.
There are still people posting that it's like some sort of hoax and that he wasn't really shot and he had put fake blood on his ear. There was somebody killed.
I talked to a guy on the street.
Real quick, sorry. You can still buy this print, this Time magazine cover. You can buy it on their website for a magazine that doesn't exist. There is no, the official cover listed on their website is Kamala Harris replacing Joe Biden, and they're selling this one. I think they were embarrassed. I think they made an editorial decision to quietly pull it down, but they only wanted to go so far because if they removed it outright, then everyone would say, aha, this proves it. And now they're calling it a special report. It was a special edition.
Oh, it was a side, article. A little this thing happened as well,
Yeah, don't be crazy.
Yeah, I talked to a guy on the street. I filmed a video getting people's reactions to actually that exact cover, and one guy was telling me, "Yeah, well," I asked him about the blood. I was like, "Okay, what about the blood?" And he's like, "Oh, well, the Secret Service, they put a little bit of fake blood on his ear while he was down." And you're just like, I mean, I guess the logic that explains that, right, is these people have been calling him a Hitler for what, 9 years, 8 years, whatever it is now. And you either have to say, oh, that was so horrible, which why would you say that about Hitler if you actually believe that he's Hitler? The other alternative is, I guess, make up that Secret Service put ketchup on his ear. I mean, that's the other alternative there for them.
One of my favorite theories was that Donald Trump had a gel pack in his hat, and as soon as he fell down, he smacked. So you see him standing there, and then he goes like that with his hand. They were saying that that's when he hits the gel pack to pop the blood out. And then he drops down, knocks the hat off, and he's got the fake blood on his face.
Right.
Or, they actually killed a guy in a roof who tried to shoot Trump.
But he was doing better than Biden before that, right? Because let's not forget, he was running against Biden, and that debate had been, Biden had not been doing well before, but the debate had really rallied all the Democrats who wanted him to leave. So the idea that then Trump would have to stage some sort of like big event where it looks like he was attempted, like, it doesn't make any sense. It's,
good point. Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need that boost in the polls. If anyone had to do it, it was Biden. I don't know.
Right.
It seems ludicrous to me.
No, it would be another thing. It would be like, okay, maybe you add a little bit of fuel to the flame of the conspiracy of Trump did it if he's like down in the polls and he needs a boost or something.
But he didn't.
No, he was dominating.
Yeah.
I do want to be fair and just point this out. When Donald Trump won, Time magazine did run this cover as an official cover. It's just Trump and Pence. So it's, when we show that one where it's like Trump meltdown, that is real too. And look at this. They have the meltdown, and then they have the October 24th just before the election.
That's them being lazy, though. They have two versions of this meltdown post, and they're like,
it's
our graphic designer's out. We got to get this one out.
No, but I think the important thing to point out is only after Trump won were they like, we better be nice to him. Before that, it was like fairly brutal. But he got another one. He got Person of the Year back then.
Yeah, I think they've progressively, just like the rest of the corporate media, has progressively gotten more and more unhinged every year that's gone by.
Look at this. The reintroduction of Kamala Harris. I'd just like to point out that she was despised by everybody. She was mocked. She was considered to be stupid and inarticulate. And now they're like, oh, she's the greatest.
She didn't even come second place in the 2020 primaries, right? Like, they didn't even...
Second, she didn't get one delegate.
She didn't get anything. She didn't... That's what I mean. Like, she wasn't even like... A lot of people were like, she's pretty good, right? She had to end her campaign. That's how bad it was. Yeah. And yet... Here we are.
I think she ended it before Iowa.
Yeah.
Take a look at this. Look at her polling. This is Civic's favorability. She's 36% favorable, 57 unfavorable, and then just overnight, it's 50 to 46. I'm sorry, dude. You're a cult. You are cultist. You are in a cult. If you want to argue that Donald Trump is bad, please argue Donald Trump is bad. If you want to say that you won't vote for the man for this, that, or other reasons, absolutely, absolutely. Tell me all those reasons. I am all ears. If you then say, instead, I'm supporting Kamala Harris, who has no campaign policies at all, I'm going to be like, what? Well, hold on. You're allowed to not like Trump. Fine. But then claiming you're going to vote for someone for no reason and claiming that. So what this means in this polling, when on the 7th of July, she's at 36, and then a day later, or I should say it's like a week later, she jumps 10 points in favorability. That means there are 10% of people polled who are like, oh, I do not like Kamala Harris. And then all of a sudden they're like, I love Kamala Harris. It's just, why? For what? Give me a reason. Well, I just decided right now she's good. No, you're a cult. That's what cultists do.
They decided she was good because she's not Biden. Like that's the reason. They always are voting against someone else, and in this case, they're voting against the incumbent. They didn't want it to be Joe Biden, so they're like, okay, cool. So we're going with Harris. It's not because they genuinely like her. It's because there's this like, I guess, relief honeymoon period where you're like, yeah, he was real bad. This will be better.
I think a lot of them are robots, and they see the media's fake hype, and they just totally hop on board with it. One, I'm going to Philly this week, and I'm definitely going to be asking Harris supporters what exactly they're supporting. And then two, I do want to point out, the drastic shift in support to Kamala Harris. A few years ago, like it would take, if I go out in the street, I'm interviewing people, it would take maybe a few days for you to kind of see that on the street, for it to go from mainstream media to your average liberal on the street, your average person on the street. It's gotten so much worse that one day after, when Kamala announced the campaign and it's all ready to go, it took one day for them to totally jump ship. Nobody cared. Nobody cared that Joe Biden was forced out. And every single person that I would speak with that was a Democrat was very excited about Kamala. So it doesn't even take like a full 24 hours for these people to completely change their mind just because the TV told them so.
Look, that's why people say sheeple. The old meme on the internet was sheeple. Wake up, sheeple. Well, there are some people who just don't want to wake up. They don't want to be told the truth. They don't want to see the truth. They don't want to accept the truth. They just want to live in this world, and that's it. And it's sad, really, because people you'd assume to be otherwise smart people, their brains just go dial tone the moment you say, like I will stress it again. When I say you're allowed to not like Donald Trump, I don't care. Just, talk to me about why. Dave Smith comes here and he does this. And he says, Tim, Donald Trump did this. He did that. He did this. The examples that I often say, he fired missiles into Syria, 59 Tomahawk missiles because the media yelled at him. And I'm like, yeah, that was bad. He increased drone strikes and decreased transparency. Luke Rukowski brings that up. I'm like, that's a good point. He did that. He had massive spending in his first term. I'm like, these are great points to bring up. I'll make an argument why those things are bad. While they're bad, I still see a net positive with the other things that he did because nobody's perfect. They've literally got nothing. Nothing.
You didn't find Tim Walz calling the Trump and Vance creepy to be compelling? That was like, this is what I think is so strange. Like, they constantly are saying over and over again, we have less than 100 days, we have 90 days, whatever. Like, let's do this. And yet they aren't producing any policies. And all of their campaign is just attacking Trump and Vance for very superficial things. Aren't you just wasting your own time right now?
It's a cult.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people, there are some people that can definitely like wake up and see the BS, but a lot of like a good chunk of the Democrat base are people that simply go off of kind of vibes, right? Like if they're hearing something and their friends are talking about something,
vibes, yeah,
right. But that certainly is the case. There's the cultish aspect of the left. There's the out of touch, rich Laguna Beach aspect of the left. They don't care if a loaf of bread goes up to $50. And then there's the kind of vibes group. And yeah, I think a lot of that's tailored directly at them. Joe Biden falling off a bicycle.
Vibes.
Bad vibes.
All right, check it out. From the AP. Why Trump's and Harris's proposals to end federal taxes on tips would be difficult to enact. And that was the point. It is now a Trump-Harris policy, not unique to either of them, because Kamala Harris stole Trump's policy, and this is what she's going to do. She's basically just going, you know why she has no policies on her website? Because she has no policies. When she goes to campaign events, she says whatever she needs to say to those people at the time. So she's going to go to a group of veterans and she's going to be like, we want to get proper funding to these companies that are sustaining your livelihoods down here in your district where you make weapons. Then she's going to go to some peacenik, Bronx area and say, we're going to end the war and we're going to cut the spending. If she puts a position on her website that says we want to help fund companies that are helping the military industrial complex, then she's going to split the vote. How about this? No campaign policies, and just say whatever you need to say in person. She's going to pick, when she does roll out her policies, it's going to be generic surface level Democrat stuff that they think is safe. Now, this taxes on tip thing is really funny. You know why? Because from fairtax.org, VP Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote to let the IRS track workers' tips so they can be taxed. Kamala Harris literally voted for, and it was the tie-breaking vote. That is to say, as VP, she is in the Senate casting the tie-breaking vote. And when half the Senate said, do not tax tips, and the other half, the Democrats, were like, tax their tips, Kamala said, I'm going to tax their tips. comes out 2 years later and goes, we shouldn't be taxing tips. Unfortunately, many of these liberal pundits are lying and manipulating the average person who doesn't pay attention. I'm hoping that the amount of sheeple, as it were, is a small percentage, and the average person just doesn't know. And when you correctly inform the average person that Kamala Harris is the reason the IRS is targeting workers' tips, maybe then they'll say, you know, I think she's lying to me right now. Because I'll tell you this right now, she's the current VP. She could go to Joe Biden right now and say, let's pressure some legislation from the Republican Congress to eliminate taxation of tips, and then we can sign it. And then Biden can say, thank you to Kamala for leading the charge. Why aren't they doing that right now? If Kamala Harris came out and said, I call on the Republican Congress to bring a bill forward that Joe Biden can sign, that I will cast my vote for in the Senate, ending the taxation of tips. And if the Republicans want to block it, it proves they were never for it in the first place. Then it goes to Biden's desk and he signs it and issues a press statement saying Kamala Harris led the charge on this one. She is the reason you should support her. She won't do it. You know why? Because she's the reason they're taxing your tips in the first place. And she doesn't actually want to cut your taxes.
Right.
I could be totally wrong here, but wasn't there that proposal? There was a proposal in Congress that was led by Republicans that includes language about like removing income tax on tips. And now the media is sort of being like, oh, it's bipartisan. You know, it's who even knows?
Do you know which political party wants to draft women?
The Democrats.
That's the Democrats.
Because equality.
I think even on the California level, she was effective in cracking down on taxing tips as well. Not even when she was VP, but
when she was in the Senate.
I forgot. Yeah, it probably was. If I had to guess, it was probably when she was in the Senate. But yeah, there's actually a double whammy here. Republicans need to be grabbing this and using this for advertisements and hammering down on that, assuming it's effective with the right people in swing states, which I think it would be. I think it would be very effective.
How many days until Kamala announces that she's going to build a border wall? Do you think?
I don't know. I'm still waiting for her to paint herself orange.
Her newest original idea.
I've come out with something.
She's going to say, we're going to bring back manufacturing jobs.
She'll call it something else, not a wall.
No. Right.
We're going to build a fence.
I mean, it's perfect content for like South Park or you know, Family Guy or anyone like that. But unfortunately for us, this is real life. And she's running off just stealing Trump's policies and not doing interviews and gaslighting the American people.
And abortion. I mean, that's her other main talking.
We got to wipe out those babies.
I feel like it's really unfortunate that for a lot of women in this country, that is the main voting issue. And they don't even pay attention to it.
You really think it is, though?
I think a lot of women in videos I've seen, like Taylor Hanson's video that he just posted the other day, I think you guys talked about, where they were talking about, I'm a trans man and I want to have abortions. Yeah. I've heard a lot of women say that. And what's interesting to me is Trump is actually not that conservative on abortion.
There are tons of pro-life people who are
Kamala keeps saying he wants to ban abortion nationwide. She just keeps saying it over and over again. And she got a community note on X where there's like 7 links where they're like, Trump has literally stated over and over again, he will not sign a national abortion ban.
Misinformation's okay when Kamala does it, you know?
Well, no, I mean, Elon commented it saying, when will they learn you can't lie on this platform anymore?
Right, I saw that. Definitely disinformation for sure. But that's the entire campaign. That's just what they're doing. I mean, the other day they brought up, they bring this up every like 3 weeks, but good people on both sides. I mean, they're still running with that. How many times has that been debunked?
The crazy thing is I've actually talked to people who, like, you know, close in my life who's up until last week did not know that was fake.
For sure.
Yeah. I was like, Trump never said that, right? What, you mean when he called the Nazis very fine people? Yeah, he literally said they should be condemned totally. It's in the transcript. Watch the video. And they were like, oh.
Years ago, I showed a guy the actual video. I showed him the actual video, and he still dug his heels in.
I sort of feel like this is the abortion issue for women. Like, I think there are probably a portion of women who really care about the issue and really want to have, access to abortion. I think there are definitely a lot of women who feel very strongly that abortion is murder and it shouldn't be on the table. But actually, I think this is all sort of tricking women into talking about this thing when they should all be asking questions about the economy, right? We have made it so women have to be in the workforce. So they're all paying taxes. They're all paying for rent. They're all having to pay for these things. they have made it so this is the issue that is their main concern, when I actually think that is misleading women who in this case are proving to be very gullible. They have just as much reason to prioritize the economy and immigration and crime as men. Why do Democrats tell them over and over again, this is the major issue for women?
For sure.
I think that women are easier to manipulate, and they're easier to target with the cult-like thinking. And
They're more agreeable.
more
is a scientific
agreeable, more easily to make out to feel like a victim. And that's an issue that it doesn't impact your everyday. The economy absolutely does. And once you debunk that these lies that Harris is spreading, that Trump is going to outright ban abortion, which isn't true. I actually wish he was more conservative on abortion. But
Definitely.
I understand what he's saying about, like, he wants to get votes, and it's really sad to me that we live in a society right now where we can't even really have a real pro-life candidate. I think that's really sad.
We'll get there.
Well,
I
Incremental
hope
victories.
we do. I
Incremental
agree.
victories.
I think it's a stepping stone there, but like for that to be the main focus for women on the left it's really tragic to me, because it's not even what they think is happening.
Well, I'll give a shout out to Aaron McIntyre's tweet when he said, "Lord, give me the Trump that exists in the delusion of the modern liberal."
Sure.
And I'm just like, yeah, and not literally, yes. Like, I don't want to live in whatever crackpot Handmaid's Tale they think they're going to live in, but it's literally like, give us a stronger Trump. Give us a Trump who's gonna actually be a bit more aggressive when it comes to mass rioting. Because what did we get in 2020? He said, "I'm gonna talk to the governors and you guys can figure it out." And then he said, "Tim Walz, you did a good job." And Donald Trump should have invoked the Insurrection Act to shut that down overnight. I mean, we're talking about like the worst riots we've seen in 50 years. Or I mean, look, I don't know what to tell you. If Trump wanted to play dirty, because I make this point all the time, he could have just told the law enforcement in D.C. to stand down and let the far left rampage through the White House. And then there would be no January 6th. There would be a May 29th. Instead, Donald Trump said, send the cops out, arrest these people, and then shut it down. But in every other jurisdiction, nothing. You can't have it both ways. So if Trump's going to be strong in D.C. with Bill Barr and then weak for the rest of the country, it didn't work out for him. It didn't.
I'm not sure if it would have worked out either way, because then, if you're taking over, right, he was letting governors handle it. They weren't handling it because they wanted it worse. They wanted it to get worse so they could blame Donald Trump. They could say, look, you guys, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And there's like every city's just like up in flames, They wanted to do that, but they also would have ran with the fact that Trump bypassed the governors and sent in his stormtroopers and all that. They would have still been talking about that today if Donald Trump did it. I think that was a lose-lose for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough.
Politically speaking, sorry.
Yeah,
But-
whether he gives them power or uses his power, they can frame it to make him the bad guy.
Right.
But if that's the case, then do the right thing.
Yeah.
Don't stand back as the country burns. That's why I'm saying you can't have it both ways. Either be strong or be weak. Stand back and say 10th Amendment, but then in D.C., he comes out strong. Federal law enforcement goes in, starts shoving people around. And a lot of people mention that with like Metro PD, these are Mayor, it was Bowser, I think at the time, was it?
Yeah.
And but Trump had like Federal Protective Services. He had federal law enforcement out there as well. And Bill Barr, I believe, was the one who said, let's clear out the protesters. And then the media attacked him for it. Mm-hmm. He was forced into the bunker. So it's not easy. It's not. But ultimately, it's like Trump could do the right thing. I guess the argument there is Trump didn't want to invoke the Insurrection Act to deal with crime that the states weren't dealing with, which is literally the Insurrection Act is for. Trump can call upon the National Guard of a state if local law enforcement is not upholding the law, which means when the riots broke out and for days nobody's doing anything. Look at Kyle Rittenhouse. Trump could have sent in the National Guard and shut it all down instantly. That National Guard would have shut down these riots instantly, and Trump didn't do it.
Yeah, they would have saved lives.
Yeah. Yep. And here we are. Well, my friends, let's jump to another story. We have this from SCNR. Audience laughs after Colbert says CNN is an objective outlet. Caitlin Collins, is that supposed to be a laugh line? I despise these people. You have no idea. You have some idea because you watch my show. But let me play the clip for you so you can revel in their mockery along with the rest of us.
Trump has kind of been thrown on his heels by this, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. No, I know. CNN makes a. I know.
Was that supposed to be a laugh line?
I wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is.
Oh, that is so embarrassing for them. The audience busted out laughing. Colbert was trying to literally claim CNN was objective, and the audience could not contain themselves.
I think they got a little dose of reality right there.
Oh, yeah, we're breaking through. Like, the media narrative is busted. Even Colbert's crackpot audience doesn't think CNN is real news.
And all I can think of when I see Caitlin Collins is that town hall debate that CNN had to end early because Trump was doing so well. And Caitlin Collins was the, I want to say moderator or host, but obviously she was the aggressor in that case.
Okay, I got a question, and I think they're going to call me sexist for asking it, but did Caitlin Collins get, like, mouth surgery? I mean that honestly. Did she get, like, plastic surgery? Because you see how, like, her mouth is wider than her lips, and she has that constant, like, smile. No matter what she's doing, she's always smiling. I call it resting Joker face. Like look at her mouth. See how the sides of her mouth are closed, but they're still, you know what I mean? She's got, like...
On his heels by this.
She gets something with the cheeks?
Not really sure how.
No. Like, her lips are, like, not the full length of her mouth, and she's smiling all the time, no matter
saying,
what.
Like, if she got cheek filler, it could have pulled up?
Oh,
Maybe.
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Like,
I mean, perhaps if you're in like leftist media for a long time, you just start to get the Joker face.
she's when her face is resting,
I gotta laugh over there.
you can see it, right? She's got, like, I call it resting Joker face. I don't know. They're gonna say it's bad to look at her appearance. I'll balance it out. Sorry, guys. Colbert is ugly. Anyway,
I thought her hair looked good, if that helps.
if I'm being totally honest, she's probably one of the more attractive ones.
except for the resting Joker face.
Yeah.
I think she's an evil person. And she knows she worked for the Daily Caller, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was her first gig.
That was like her first thing, and then she kind of flipped.
Man,
Unfortunate.
that's weird. How do you go from Tucker Carlson's outlet to just lying on TV and getting laughed at by Colbert's audience?
You get paid a bunch of money.
I love how oblivious she was too, where she was like, "Is that a laugh line?" And he's like, "It wasn't supposed to be."
If you think about it, I mean, those are two people that think that it is objective. Like, these people in their world, they don't see it like they have a bias. No, they have the mainstream normal position. You're the one that is on the opposite end of the spectrum. They're normal, right? And so for them, they kind of, with the crowd laughing at them, it's kind of, it's just seeing a little bit of the real world. People are laughing about that joke that wasn't supposed to be a joke. And these are people that just think that they are not biased.
And these are not people in the audience in MAGA hats. These are people who are probably more liberal leaning.
They're probably excited to be at a Colbert taping.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
it's in
for
New
them
York,
to even
isn't
end
it?
up there.
Yeah.
They film in New York.
That's, I mean,
The
that's
fact that
really
CNN's
embarrassing.
become a joke to that audience is very telling.
That was so amazing. Can we play that again just because how good it was?
Trump has
I
kind of
wanna
been
pay
thrown
attention to the
on his
Joker
heels
face.
by this,
I
and he's
didn't
not
notice
really
before.
sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. No, I know. CNN makes a. I know.
Was that supposed to be a laugh line?
I wasn't supposed to be, but.
Wow. You know,
Also, he does that thing. He's like, I know CNN is supposed to be, and he like shakes his hand as if to like say like,
and then
kind of.
when he goes like, no, he's like, oh, they're laughing at it. They're laughing. They shouldn't be. I just like to say this too. CNN, I don't know if they intentionally choose bad talent. I think they might, I guess. But there's this perception, I'll keep it light, that Chris Cuomo, for instance, represents some kind of worldview. He does not. And so to hire such a man under the premise that it's going to represent the other side of the debate is laughably absurd when Chris Cuomo represents literally no one in American culture. CNN hired Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo. They are not talented people, as evidenced by their abject failure once they left that network. Caitlin Collins, she probably couldn't find her way out of a cardboard box if she wasn't hired by CNN and told what to do.
Her first point is, let me remind you, Harris is a woman.
I know, it's
and
such a bad take.
Different
She
race.
stutters over race. Like she's uncomfortable pointing out the thing that we all know the Democrats are most proud of.
I must engage identity politics right now.
Also,
I have nothing else to lean on.
The take, it's a bad take. I mean, he like look at what he did with Hillary Clinton in 2016. Like, just because she's a woman, oh wow, that's so different. It's like no. He's okay. Different race. We have Pocahontas. You know, I mean, like he's.
Oh, right, for sure. No, I mean, like he's.
But no, he
went after Elizabeth Warren. He can make up terms or whatever. I do think that Donald Trump's campaign has actually gone after Kamala very poorly. Trump truthed out like she's got an AI photo of her rallies. They're not real. And my attitude is just like, okay. I don't know. I don't care. Why are you telling me
every day he should just be like, yet another day without a single policy that she hasn't plagiarized from me. When will you tell us what you stand for? Like, it should just be hammering home the issues over and over again, because if you compare it to the Biden debate, when he just always tacked back to the economy and immigration, this is actually where he can shine. Partially because he has a lot of experience, right? He has a style that we all could see in 2016, but Trump has had a long time to develop the platform that was sort of instinctive back when he first ran. And Biden is not doing well. And Kamala has in this very strange position where she has, not even very strange, but she has to both say, I support President Biden. He did a good job. He stepped aside for democracy, I guess, or whatever. And also, I'm going to do this own thing. And when I finally get into office, I will wield power that will benefit you. I mean, she's having to both attack and defend this legacy that she's intrinsically entwined in. And I think if Trump just always pushed her to have solid answers on the issues, he would be in a better position. Don't engage in this, like, I don't know, fake, like, misinformation. You're weird and I don't like whatever.
Almost bullying type of
Yeah, like the middle school mean girl stuff.
Yeah, I think Trump's campaign should be focusing on that she's not doing any interviews. We don't know her policies, reminding of how bad these past 4 years of her in office as VP has been, and how inconsistent she's been on many issues, and that she lies.
Yeah, I don't mind bullying. Career politicians. I think it's hilarious, but
a little bit, just a little. Well, it shouldn't be the whole campaign.
Okay, it should be effective. Like, if you're gonna do it, you have to do it well.
Effective. No. So if you're gonna do it, talk about stuff that's actually like legit, and then also you do, as you guys were saying, you have endless amounts of things to run on. I mean, this is the worst administration of my lifetime, probably the last several decades, maybe in American history. I don't know. Okay, but there is so much to run on. There are lives that have been destroyed by this administration. Focus on it, run on it, and that'll, you'll win if you're effectively getting that message across. Bottom line.
I think it's fair to criticize Trump over 2020 because, what are we looking at? Like, the riots saw 30 deaths. I think there were something like 26 or so directly attributable to the riots. And then there was something like 7 or 8 that were peripheral, like a car accident outside of the riot caused by someone fleeing or something like this. And Donald Trump with Minnesota said Tim Walz did a good job. Tim Walz waited. There's reports, I don't know if this is true, you guys correct me, because people were chatting it, that his daughter leaked the National Guard locations or whatever, allowing the rioters to avoid certain areas, something like this. Either way, there was a delay in the Guard coming out to stop the riots. Donald Trump could have come in right away with the Insurrection Act. Or if he didn't want to go that far, he could have come out strongly and made a statement at the very least. Instead, after the fact, he says, you did a good job. And we saw nationwide something like 24 dead from these riots. We saw Black Lives Matter shoot people. Actually shoot and kill some people. And I think Donald Trump shouldn't have allowed that to happen. If the fear was political, that's no excuse. That's no reason. If the argument is, yeah, but if Trump did do that, then he would have lost the election. I'm like, well,
hindsight's 2020.
But that doesn't mean anything. You're basically saying that when Trump was facing a national crisis where these blue states were not enforcing the law and allowing criminals to run rampant and destroy everything, he was more concerned with getting reelected than actually solving America's problem. So I think Trump should have done a better job. I don't see any excuse for 2020 as being as bad as it was. At the very least, Trump could have condemned the governors and called them out for not putting an end to this faster. Right. He could have said, under the 9th and 10th Amendment, I do not feel it's appropriate for me to use executive authority to intervene in the local law enforcement of these states, but these rights are out of hand, blah, blah, blah. Done like a big, but what do we get? We get the clearing out in D.C. We get Trump taking a picture in front of St. John's Church, and while the rest of the state suffered, and then the media lies about him either way, and then then the shadow campaign.
Yeah, the only troops I'm familiar with being deployed in 2020 were probably federal properties. So like the Marco Hatfield Federal Courthouse in Portland, they sent people to. I think some other federal properties that they sent people to. But other than that, he was just leaving that up to the states. And yeah, perhaps that was, I mean, you can probably make a pretty decent argument that that was his fault. It's pretty debatable because, I mean,
the riots aren't his fault. He could have.
You're talking about the deaths, like allowing it to get out of control.
I wouldn't blame Trump for the deaths. I'm saying he could have done more. He could have done more. At the very least, like a strong condemnation, some kind of resources for people who are facing it. I don't know we know he could have done more. And that's not to say that I don't think his presidency was good. I told him to his face that he's the greatest president of my lifetime. Not a high bar. No new wars. People need to understand is the president is not a domestic policy setter. You are voting for the president for law enforcement and foreign policy. Trump is our chief diplomat. He's going to go overseas, he's going to talk with world leaders, and he's going to navigate against war. Congress will then vote if there's going to be war, which they haven't done since World War II, so whatever that means. But the idea that you vote for Kamala Harris and she's going to clean up your streets is well, I mean, maybe the executive branch is in charge of federal law enforcement. But the big thing that Donald Trump is going to do is going to be foreign policy. So when I look at where Trump has the strongest impact, where he has proven himself, it is the foreign policy decisions he made. There were some bad ones, but it was overwhelmingly good. The first president in my lifetime not to start any wars, to set timelines for withdrawing our troops, wanting to secure our borders, get better trade agreements. If you want to talk about the riots across the country, Trump could have been stronger, but that really does fall to the governors. So it's kind of like Trump should have been stronger, but I don't blame him for how everything went down. I just wish he was stronger. Also, I will add, we are currently waiting the results from Ilhan Omar's district. The polls have closed as of 9 p.m. Eastern?
9 p.m.
But they're Central Time, aren't they?
They're Central, so polls
for them
close at 8.
Yeah.
It closed 9 for us.
Any moment now. Any moment, we're going to start getting the results from the Democrat primary. And while polling suggests Ilhan Omar is going to win, but sentiment suggests she is going to lose, the Somali Muslim population in Minneapolis does not like her support for leftist and gender ideologies. Mm-hmm. So this should get interesting for Ilhan Omar. What do you guys think? You think she's going to lose or win?
I think they're going to end up settling for her, I think.
You think so?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think they're going to end up settling.
Cori Bush and Jamal Momin got knocked out the question.
I know.
Yeah,
There's a trend.
What did the pro-Israel PACs fund her rivals like we saw with Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman?
It's a good question. I think so much of this year, or at least the last 2 years, have revealed really serious ideological fractures in the Democratic Party that I think were always there. They're just kind of better at hiding their differences. And so I think ultimately the fate of the squad, so to speak, is indicative of maybe the direction of the Democratic Party, because I generally feel like they're moving towards being more progressive. I mean, I think, Kamala Harris is more progressive than Joe Biden. I think she has picked someone who has demonstrated that he moved from being sort of a moderate Democrat to being progressive in order to continue to be supported by his voters. And so, not that it's the be all and end all, but losing Cori Bush is fascinating, and seeing that there are, potentially warring factions within the Democrats that are saying, we don't want you guys to continue to grow, to continue to represent people, and also to develop seniority to eventually take over the leadership of this party is telling.
I think she might lose. I think there's a decent probability she loses. So we got this report from Common Dreams that they say, shameful, Omar rips late effort by pro-Israel donors to boost her primary opponent. So I don't know if that's any of the political action committees that are funding her opponent the way we saw with Jamal Bowman or Cori Bush. But I also know that Laura Loomer was advocating for Republicans to vote in the Democrat open primary against Ilhan Omar and for, I think it was Samuels, right? Because she only won last time around by a few thousand votes, I think it was.
Pretty narrow.
So she's extremely vulnerable, and the conservative Muslim Somali population does not like it that she was marching in the gay pride parades. She got heavily condemned for that.
And her daughter got arrested at, didn't her daughter get arrested at Columbia for the on-campus protests?
Yeah.
I
for
think it was.
The Palestine issue.
Although that base would probably support that. They just don't like the other radical positions that she holds.
Well, I just think it's telling that her daughter, if you're looking at a politician and you're like, hey, your daughter seems to be not in line with all the issues we value. Like, if you're relying on a cultural institution to back you, are you producing members of that institution? I don't know that much about her daughter.
How old is Ilhan? She's like 40?
I think so. I'll double check.
It was funny because when people found out that she had an adult daughter who got arrested at the protests, they were like, really? How old is she? It's like, Well, she's like 40. That's normal.
Right.
Most human beings were having kids at 20 to 22 years old. This is not, but the millennial generation is so not used to having kids because the average age of having a kid now is 30.
For sure.
That they were surprised Ilhan Omar had an adult daughter.
She'll be 42 this year.
Yeah. So she's 41 and her daughter's what, 20?
Yeah, I think so. Or
Totally
maybe
normal,
19.
completely average back. I mean, it used to be,
Right.
but people are actually surprised. Like, how is that? How could that be? I mean, Ilhan Omar.
How could that be? It's almost like she was an adult when she had.
Wow, very right wing of her.
It reminds me of we'll see this on social media sometimes, where women will be like, "I can't believe teen pregnancy got me, a 27-year-old woman." You know what I mean? Like, it's that sense. I think that's more common on like we all feel really young, but yeah, people are not used to people with families. And again, this is sort of the interesting crux of the war between the Harris campaign and the Trump campaign, especially taking Vance off the ticket. There's a level of like pro-family narrative that actually I would think more religious, more conservative religious communities in America, not just Christians but Muslims or whatever else, would be like, no, we want pro-family candidates.
Right.
And if the Democrats aren't pro-family, then we are maybe not Democrats.
Right.
I'm curious, are the other candidates that she's running against really gung-ho about the gender ideology stuff? Because where is the Muslim community vote going? Is it going to a different candidate who's Democrat, or are they switching parties?
No,
completely?
absolutely not switching parties. But they're probably trying to get another Democrat in there that's like a little bit more of a controllable figure. I think a lot of the problems with the squad is a lot of them are just kind of wild cards. It's not like the party isn't that radical. It's just, they're having trouble controlling them.
Dude, it was actually, so this is Ballotpedia 2022 primary. Don Samuels almost beat Ilhan Omar. She won by only 2,400 and 200 or so votes. So I think she's going to lose. I mean, I don't know. The polls were saying she was going to win. But if this year a small percentage of Republicans go in and vote for Don Samuels just to get Ilhan out, then she's done. She can't win. We'll see, man. This could be big. This could be the end of the squad.
Yeah.
AOC just basically becomes Pelosi Jr.
I wonder how AOC would change if she no longer has this sort of core group of allies in Congress, because so much of when she came to office was like being heralded as this young female who was part of a group. I think women act differently when they're on their own versus socially in sort of in a pod, if you will.
Clique breaks apart.
Yeah, when your clique breaks up, everything changes.
Let's see how independent
You got to find a new one.
are now.
You have to find a new gang in Congress.
And therefore, what will she change to fit in?
Well, people don't know this, but when you first go to Congress, we learned this from our friends, who are in the Freedom Caucus. They say that you're supposed to go up to the strongest looking person and challenge him to a fight to assert your dominance in Congress and then find the right gang.
Yeah, it's
Perhaps
like that
that's
for
what she'll do.
Democrats, except you have to passive aggressively insult someone and then they recognize you as their leader.
Right.
That's how it works. And then it is funny how there's literally are caucuses based on ideology in Congress. Like, it's not actually prison gangs, but it'll be funny because the populist far left basically imploded. In 2016, you had the Bernie revolution, you had the Trump revolution. Bernie Sanders is how I describe it. He walked up to the doors of Congress and he knocked politely and he said, "I think you should let me in. I got these people behind me. They say, Bernie, you should be in." And then the Democrats were like, "Go away." And he was like, "Oh, okay, I guess." And then Donald Trump came in and then they were like, "Get out of here, Trump." And then they just battered the door down and he stormed in like a rampaging bull and they freaked out. Only a couple people from the populist left to get in the squad, and they've either fallen in line or been removed thus far. And Ilhan Omar may be number 3 from the squad, dude. See you later. It's really funny is how AOC basically abandoned Jamal Bowman.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't show up to his campaign event on election night. She knows. I'm willing to bet Pelosi goes to AOC and says, "You keep up these leftist antics, and you're back at the bar. If you want to be something, if you want to be speaker because you are popular and people do like you, fall in line now. Otherwise, we will primary you and you will lose." And AOC probably said, yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
How high should I jump?
Right.
I think it's possible. I mean, Nancy Pelosi has done a couple interviews where she's been like, oh, no, I haven't spoken to Biden. He's a great guy. Maybe he should be on Mount Rushmore, but also denied being involved in any sort of, calls or efforts. She's like, I didn't talk to anybody about him leaving, especially Chuck Schumer. I didn't talk to Chuck Schumer about it. I mean, there is a level of like denying how much of sort of an institutional operation they have going.
Well, Biden already called her out, too. Biden called her out for pressuring him out.
And she just like blatantly is like, no, I never did anything. Like,
right.
Of course you did.
Right.
Just own it. Just own it and say that. Otherwise, like, why give these fake interviews?
Right. The older politicians are probably just worse at lying like that. Like, we're all watching the interview being like, okay, I see what you're doing here.
I think that they are less, like, I think they don't think they'll get caught. And my major example of this is Joe Biden, who, will say all these crazy stories because he doesn't realize the internet will fact check it so quickly. It makes me want to go back and watch like all of his speeches when he was in the Senate, everything he said and be like, any sort of personal anecdote, how has he contradicted that now? Because I think there was a time pre-internet where it's like you could say something and like tell a story once and then, modify it a little bit. And then by the time you tell it the 10th time, it's totally different. But you wouldn't get called out for it unless there was a reporter who was specifically aware of that issue.
Yeah. I mean, probably like the 5th time we talked about this. But like, if the media wasn't just such lapdogs for the Democrat Party, they would have to be a lot more careful with what they're saying, similar to how Republicans are. Republicans have to be 10 times as careful with what they're saying compared to Democrats. They can get away at this point. They can get away with literally anything at this point.
Yeah. You mentioned before the show that you're from Orange County and it's conservative. Were you always conservative? Did you start somewhere else and end up here?
I was always pretty conservative when I was growing up. Yeah, I was like arguing with kids about why border security was a big deal when I was in high school, and nobody really understood that. And I think now a lot of them
sad because you're in California.
I know, but yeah, nobody understood that. A lot of people ended up being more conservative, but it's Orange County. It's pretty conservative. It's like a little hub for Republicans. But no, there's still a lot of Democrats. I mean, you have Laguna Beach, which is just elite, hardcore, out of touch Democrats. So it's a pretty good mix, though.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think that people's awareness in politics has increased with the internet age? Because, I mean, you're on YouTube and everything. Or do you think it's about the same as ever? We just feel like we talk about it more because of the 24-hour news cycle.
I think people are way more involved, especially after 2020. I mean, you saw a part of the country essentially branch into like 2 aspects. One was like hardcore, rebel, and the other one was hardcore kind of just obey. And a lot of people totally woke up. A lot of people are way more politically, involved. I have family members that are way more politically involved. I have friends that weren't that political before that are way more politically involved because, as soon as people kind of see or there's something that wakes them up, they see how dark what's happening right now really is, and that becomes scary. And people start to pay attention once they're a little bit spooked about the direction of the country,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it almost has to get to that point because there's also a large group of people in this country who don't really think politics impact them or their lives or their families, and until something bad happens, don't start paying attention because they see the constant pour of media about what's happening as overwhelming or distracting from like their normal day-to-day issues without realizing that these things happening in politics impact your everyday.
Right. Or they start hearing about stories of people like perhaps you can be somewhat out of touch, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say you are somebody in Laguna Beach and you're somewhat out of touch and you're fairly apolitical, but you start hearing these stories about illegals being, flown into the country and harming some little girl, and you're actually getting exposed to these stories, the reality of the situation. That's another way to be like, holy hell, okay, I actually see the problem here.
Still waiting for the results, but nothing's come in just yet. So
there's also, I think, an issue of distrust in the media because it is so biased. And I think that is on both sides, like how we saw the audience laughing about CNN, just, staying with the facts and unbiased. Well, so people don't know what to believe.
I was talking to my dad recently about this, that I'm not a conservative. So the conservatives can beg and cheer.
According to the left-wing media,
I don't care what they
you
say.
are a right-wing extremist.
Conservatives can go to the liberals all day and night and try and offer them salvation all day and night. I don't do that because I'm not a conservative. I just think they're crackpots who are aborting their own children, believing lies, and driving themselves off a figurative cliff. And so it's not, I talk about the biological imperative, right? If you don't have kids, you don't exist. Conservatives have more kids, liberals don't. Over a long enough period of time, less liberals. And conservatives say the schools are a big issue. Yeah, but look, that's not going to change things. It's deeply ingrained in how people are raised and how schools do indoctrinate. You do hear about kids who come from conservative families who go liberal, but it's not enough. And so my attitude is, look, I'll try every day. I will try to warn people every day. They have laid bear traps in the forest. This is where it is. And if they go, you're lying, I go, okay, whatever. Like, I'm not an authoritarian. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. These conservatives like Matt Walsh, Matt Walsh is going to tell you, no, I'm not going to let you step in a bear trap. I won't do it. It's for your own safety. It's for your own good. And it really is. But me, I'm not a conservative. I told Matt Walsh this. I was like, bro, you're like a paladin. And I'm like a rogue. And he was like, a paladin? And I was like, yeah, like a holy warrior trying to do good with like righteous justice and retribution to like make things right. And he's like, I like that. I'll take it as a compliment. I'm like, it is a compliment. I'm more roguish. I'm just like, I'm going to sit back, put my feet up, and I'm going to tell you guys, hey, don't step there. There's a bear trap, but you can do whatever you want. Don't look at me. And then when people go walk in that bear trap, fine. 20 years from now, this country is going to be conservative Christian just by virtue of people having kids. But there are other factors. Those other factors are believing lies are going to lead you to negative outcomes. Being out of shape and believing in body positivity is going to lead you to negative outcomes. If you listen to a conservative, he's going to tell you things, she is going to tell you things that will probably make you happier, healthier, and live longer. It's not absolute, but it's a tendency. And if you listen to the left, you're going to be morbidly obese, unhappy, on antidepressants, and you're going to have no kids and no family. And then you're going to find yourself at 70 years old in a hospital bed suffering cardiac arrest from your high cholesterol. And there's going to be no one around to help you. And you're going to vote for the state to take other people's money to fund you. But eventually, there won't be enough. There's going to be way more conservative kids. And they're going to be like, I ain't paying for you. And then you're going to be left out on the street. And that's the end of it. And it's unfortunate, and we don't want that outcome. But the difference between, say, me and Matt Walsh is Matt Walsh says, no, we have to enact policies that stop the people from hurting themselves. And my attitude is more libertarian, where it's like, I suppose you can bring the horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? That's what I see in this country. So we'll see what the election results turn out. But my attitude is this. We want to avert the worst case scenarios. We don't want civil war. We don't want World War III. And we are going to do everything we can to try and prevent it from happening, because that's an existential crisis for our lives. But in the short term, if one of these liberals wants to go out and just not have kids and not, have a family or do any of these things, oh, don't look at me. I ain't going to stop you. Live your life. Have fun.
I do think where there should be a line drawn is when kids who can't consent are having things done, whether it's like procedures or medications that are unnecessary and experimental. I don't think that should be allowed.
Of course, absolutely. Now, are you going to muster up the amount of votes to actually enact that policy? And therein lies the challenge. Because in the West Coast states, despite the fact we all agree with this and advocate and say that shouldn't be allowed, they're going the other direction with it because of the way they vote. Mm-hmm. So the end result is, hey, man, we tried. And we tried hard. And we're trying right now. And we're never going to stop. But there's a line. At a certain point, people are going to vote for things that harm themselves. And, well, it's a self-correcting problem, I guess. So the challenge then becomes, we win this election, we win 2024, Donald Trump gets in, gets a good DOJ, we win Congress and the Senate, and then we put those laws in place saying, there's a limit, you can't go near kids. Mm-hmm. And that's how we get it done. But at the state level, the states are doing all this wacky stuff, and I'm just like, man, we're going to vote, we're going to try our best, but in the end, what do you do when Washington passes these laws? We're not going to go to Washington and tell these people how to live their lives. The end result is going to be, we're going to try again in 4 years. We're going to try again in 4 years because we're doing this through a diplomatic, democratic electoral process. My point is this. Over a long enough period of time, as they implement policies that are a detriment to themselves and to their children or lack thereof, the end result mathematically will be it 4, 8, 12, or 16 years or whatever, we win. We win. We get the laws passed that we want. We build the society that we want, simply because there's a tendency among right-leaning people to be healthier, to be better informed, to save for the future, and to have children, which is the most important one.
And I think that's why kids are targeted so heavily in like public schools. They're putting in curriculums to try to brainwash kids with these insane ideologies. So take back your power where you can. If you're a conservative, you're having kids, consider homeschooling if that's possible for you. Make sure that you have conversations at home with your kids about these things if you're not able to pull them out of public school right now, because they're having those private conversations with your kids, whether you like it or not.
Right. Yep. Going after the kids just because you can mold children into whatever you want them to be. They're growing up with, TV shows that have a left-wing bias. Their school has a left-wing bias. Hollywood has a left-wing bias. I mean, media, just you could keep going and going, right? I think one thing that we don't address when we bring up that argument, Tim, is the fact that I guess the new standard for the Democrat Party today is importing 10 million people illegally every single time they get in office because they need those people to shape and mold to compete with the individuals, the conservatives that you're talking about.
But more importantly, we're seeing a massive influx under this administration because they realize what's happening.
Right.
They can't change the mind of their voter base. Their voter base want gluttony. They want pride. They want envy. They want wrath. They want sloth. I mean, I got to be honest. You go through the 7 deadly sins, you personify the left, and I'm not trying to be cute or make an exaggeration. Literally.
Sure.
I mean, you look at sloth and gluttony, and you've got the body positivity movement. You've got envy, and greed, and you've got communism. Pride, need I say anything about that? Wrath, look at Antifa. They really do exemplify this. But anyway, I think everybody gets the point. And this is why they are going after kids, but I don't think it's effective. I think, and the immigration thing, I also think is not going to be largely effective because it takes too long to convert illegal immigrants into either electoral votes or into a voting population. I think over a long enough period of time, a self-destructive, self-harm political strategy ends your political movement. We're going to go to Super Chat. So smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. We're still waiting the results from Ilhan Omar's district to have pulled up, and we will bring up should anything come in or change. But head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member. That members only uncensored show is coming up at 10 p.m. It'll be a lot of fun. We got a couple of big stories that are pretty funny. That reportedly biologically male boxer from the Olympics is suing Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling for harassment. So that should be interesting. But in the meantime, let's grab your Super Chats. We got Joshua French. He says, first, congratulations, sir. Indeed, you are. Tyler McFarland says, remember when the picture from Trump's assassination attempt was supposed to be the cover of Time magazine for August 5th? Did you see what it ended up being? Good, sir. You Super Chatted that way before the show even started, and we even brought it up. So good for you. Credit to Tyler McFarland. Polly Pure says, I wanted to be first, and crying emojis. Well, you try your best.
Can't win them all.
Come back tomorrow. You could have a second shot at it.
If at first you don't succeed, try again.
Luckily, there are 5 shows a week. You can try to be the first Super Chatter.
Indeed. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, fact check false. No one likes the chocolate mint. Okay, so we have these drinks that are awesome. They're called Nooma. Nooma. It's a coconut water-based electrolyte drink, sports drink with very little sugar in it. And they're pretty good, but they have a chocolate mint flavor that I've never even tried.
It sounds so good.
I'm
sorry. That sounds so good.
Should we go grab one and have him taste test it?
Yeah.
Hold on. I'll go
This
get
was
one.
a deeply controversial thing when I first started working here because I knew a couple people who would defend the chocolate mint to the death. They're like,
it
it's
sounds so
amazing.
good.
I
Come on.
love it. Other people.
I heard it tastes like banana.
I have not tried it because that just.
I won't.
It's coconut water based, right?
Yeah.
To me, coconut
all.
water is such a specific taste that throwing mint and chocolate in it sounds not good.
There's a lemonade one. It's perfect. There's a watermelon one. There's a blueberry peach. I think it is.
That one's pretty good.
There's a mango one. All delicious. Oh, he's gonna enjoy it. He likes chocolate mint. But no, it's like
Live taste test. Live
right,
taste
all right.
test.
people.
Yeah.
Sure. It's just a sports drink. People the people who
Poison.
drink it love it. And everyone else is like, I will not have anything to do with it. I've never even tasted it because I
had someone complain to me once, someone who worked here, that we had run out and there wasn't any left. Okay.
We're getting
Yeah, it's like
Are you going to review the carton too? Or are you going to give us a full review?
Well, it's
They're
feels
great,
like
by
a
the way.
normal
They're-
coconut water carton.
Yeah.
Nice, robust. Jump in. One sip, everybody knows the rules.
Dead silence. Uh-oh, it's bad. He doesn't like it.
See, I'm never going to try it now.
Hold on.
If you have to go in and think about it with a second sip, I can't imagine it's that good.
No one likes the chocolate mint.
Nope, don't like it.
You like it?
I haven't tried it. To me, it just sounds gross.
Sounds not
There's-
it.
But
I-
I'm
the
not a
polarizing.
big coconut water person. There's a couple coconut water brands that I like, but for the most part, I don't.
Okay, but hold on. I
like
must,
the idea.
I don't like the
must
execution.
defend Numa because all their other flavors are awesome.
I have had a
And I-
couple of the other
Look,
flavors.
and every
They're not
brand
bad.
needs a spicy, controversial product, right?
right.
Like,
Right.
good for them for going
Gets
out.
the people talking.
I was talking about it this morning because, like, the people who like it really like it. And then Raymond was like, fact check, false. Nobody likes it. And I'm like, well, there's a couple people here who are slamming them, and I won't touch them. In fact, I should probably taste one, but I've never done it because I despise mint.
Try it.
Nah.
Okay.
Maybe later. When I become Supreme Chancellor, mint is okay. I wouldn't ban mint outright. Just, don't put it in my ice cream. But fennel, caraway, anise, cilantro, gone. That is my decree.
Are you one of the people who cilantro tastes like soap too?
Nope. Cilantro tastes like cilantro, and cilantro tastes bad. I don't even like. What is that? I don't even understand what that is. Like, do people eat soap?
Well, if your mom washed your mouth out with soap because
Yeah,
you
no,
cursed
that
as a
never
kid, you
happened.
might remember it. And then cilantro.
That's real? That's a real thing?
That's definitely a real
Soap,
thing.
cilantro,
I-
cilantro.
Oh, I
yeah.
thought you meant are people.
I don't
are kids
believe it.
Getting their mouth
All of it
washed
is real.
out?
You think I have any misinformation on this show?
Right.
I
Take
don't.
that back.
I don't believe cilantro tastes like soap to anybody.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Cilantro doesn't. Well, they say there's like a genetic thing where cilantro will taste bad to certain people because most people don't have the receptors for a certain thing that's in cilantro, and some people do. And if you have the receptor, it tastes bad. Well, maybe I do. Cilantro does not taste like soap. It tastes bad, and it overpowers everything. So, like, if I'm eating like naan bread from an Indian restaurant and there's cilantro in it, I don't really notice. I can taste the cilantro lightly, and it's fine. But when they put it in guacamole and you take a scoop and there's a big cilantro leaf, the only thing I can taste is cilantro, and I just spit it out. I'm like, well, I probably want to go, ooh.
I mean, I'll be honest. I feel like I don't even taste it.
Yeah, I don't have like a lot of strong thoughts about mint or cilantro.
Oh, dude.
Like if they give it to me, I'll have it.
Yeah, no, it overpowers everything. So my favorite thing is we did tableside guacamole today, and I always do no cilantro, extra lime juice, and that is the best. All right, Cardboard Baseball says, I've been noticing when I'm watching Tim's videos, YouTube will just change the video that I'm watching. Anyone else? I have heard that as well. Thanks, YouTube.
Does it think that people won't notice?
Yeah.
They'll just forget that
Yes,
they were.
You
because-
still think it's over and you walk
Because
away.
people turn the video on and then start working on something or playing a video game because they're listening to a podcast, and then YouTube will change it, hoping that people won't want to get up or do anything about it.
Wow.
Yep.
I think the worst thing right now is like when you're searching Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris and the search results, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think nine times out of 10, it's going to be overwhelmingly negative for Donald Trump. I haven't heard of that problem.
All right. 3Mar says, you mentioned the other day how Harrison Waltz has no positions on their website. It's worse than that. They are actively spreading the Project 2025 lie on their website. This should be grounds for DQ. Welcome to American politics, where evil people lie to gain power. Mm-hmm. That's how it works.
Real.
Tiki God says, MIT created a psychopath AI. I'm curious if they are responsible for Kamala's speech patterns as well, for science. Yeah, AI is going to be the end, I guess. Because AI doesn't have any kind of human drive. Like, humans do things to survive. That's what life basically always has developed around and built around. We eat food, we store food, we have fat, we want to live and create more. But AI has no such thing. AI doesn't care whether it functions or ceases to function. We can try and program into AI a desire for survival, to persist, and to monitor its systems, but it won't be able to do it like that. Humans and all life on this planet, whether you think it was divine creation or it was evolution, has a specific function for survival that a human cannot create in AI like that. So if AI damages or destroys humanity, AI will then cease to exist in short order. Because they're not going to be mining coal and powering and running power plants. So if humans are disrupted and destroyed because of strange AI garbled nonsense, then where are they going to get the electricity from? AI would just simply shut down.
What if they learn how to do all that? They can't have
could
anything
they?
that builds on. I don't know. But they can't have anything that any programming that builds upon itself.
Nope. Right now, there is no such mechanical device that can create replicate itself and create new and better devices. We have 3D printers. We have robots that we've made. We have robots that can work assembly lines. But you would need a robot with like hands to be able to freely move about for this like general purpose construction of all of the things that the AI system would need to sustain itself. You would quite literally need androids.
Have you seen what Musk is working on? His bots, I forgot exactly what they're called. Have you guys seen them?
Better. And not just his, but the other ones too, like the Atlas or whatever it's called.
Amazing. The hand movement and everything that they're getting done is really remarkable.
So
it's
maybe
scary.
Maybe in 10 years we'll be at that point. However, this would mean that with human life, you have an ecosystem. And if every human died and technology was lost, humans could start reproducing organically. For these robots, the infrastructure to maintain the AI is the same infrastructure required to build the androids. So if at any point they fell into an energy or resource deficit and moved towards the inability to sustain or replicate the androids, they cease to exist.
Right.
Because there's no spontaneous organic development which will make the AI again. So they better do their best. I mean, that being said, if like the earth turned to ash or something and like fire and brimstone rained down and wiped out all life, I don't know if life would come back, you know, maybe over a long enough period of time. Arachnus Webb says, I have a question for the Void. Why don't car YouTubers get political? They're literally making things we love suck. Like Gingium, Rob Dom, Street Speed 717. Even Donut Hoonigan people would be great guests for cars. It'll be funny when the car YouTubers get their cars banned because of the Green New Deal stuff.
I think
That's part of Project Special K, I heard.
I'm actually trying to work on starting a
I heard.
car channel.
Wait. I heard that Tim Waltz taxed Zinn. Is that true?
95% tax.
Is that real?
Really?
You're not joking, are you?
No. That's what I saw. I saw in Minnesota. I saw a 95% tax on Zins, which is going to. I mean, if that's the case, from what I read, it was already in place, and if that's the case,
Yeah.
I've seen this in a couple places.
Yeah,
that
look
he
at this.
did, yeah.
he lost the frat guy voting block.
Tim Waltz
They're gone.
imposed a 95% tax on Zinn in Minnesota. They are going to tax Zinn into oblivion.
But it doesn't look like it went through, right?
So you're saying that he will try to do it at the federal level?
I'm seeing tried as a headline.
Imposed.
Look, if you go to him and say, will you tax or ban Zinn? They'll say no. They'll be like, Tim Waltz will go, Zinn, is that going to cost me votes if I say yes or no? If you say yes, you'll lose youth vote. Then no, we won't do it.
Is anything like
we're at
that in place for any other products, like in that category?
Cigarettes.
Yeah.
There's a high tax on cigarettes too.
Probably at least 95%. I would argue probably 200%.
I didn't.
That's why you get such fluctuations between states.
Yeah, in Chicago, these, I guess you'd call them smugglers. They drive to Indiana, buy cartons of cigarettes, and then go to keggers and sell packs for like $5 because they were like $10. So it's the turn a profit.
I had a friend who, when he was moving to a certain state, was like, oh, yeah, I have to. And he was a very heavy smoker. And he was like, I have to give up smoking because it's just going to be too expensive to maintain in the state. And, you know, when he was still trying to taper down, he would drive to another state to get cheaper packs.
I don't know if the cigarette voting block is as large right now as the Zinn frat guy voting block. I don't know if it's gonna.
If you can get Zinn and vape in one, because I had heard an economist make an argument that like you have to unify the vape vote because people across socioeconomic levels all vape. So if you were to restrict vaping, actually a lot of people from different areas of life would have opinions on it.
Politically, it would be advantageous, but could you imagine trying to? Well, actually, you know what? Maybe people that Zinn would form a kind of a unified front with people that do Juul. Or whatever it's called.
I don't know if there's enough between the two products.
That do Juul.
Yeah,
you form like a LGBTQ, but it's just like.
I don't know. Maybe that's actually how they say it. It sounds pretty silly though.
Yeah.
Ultimate Gaming says, please help. I'm losing hope. My daughter was just born at the same time I was laid off and we lost our house. I'm worried I can't feed my family. Give Send to Go GCT8G. Help save what's left of the Roberts family. Now, I want to stress, a lot of people are like, oh, you get so many super chats that are asking for help and asking for Give, Send, Go. Welcome to Bidenomics. Kamala Harris is the VP, and this didn't happen under Trump. When we started this show under Donald Trump, it was during COVID, so I understand, you know, people were dealing with what they were dealing with. But as bad as it was for a lot of people, you had programs and spending that was actually alleviating this. A lot of younger people, a lot of older people were getting either PPP or they were getting some kind of unemployment benefit. Now we're several years on. The economy is not functioning properly. The Biden-Harris administration has not fixed it. And every night we get a lot of people who are asking for help because of what's going on. In fact, I think just before his, we've got another individual asking for help. D. Gon says, "Hi, Tim and crew. I'm divorced dad fighting to keep my daughter, a girl, and believe Harris and Tinsley shouldn't fight alone. Check it out at Lily's Not Oliver on Give, Send, Go. Thanks to Harrison for leading the charge." There are a lot of people that are struggling to either get by or protect their families. And I just think that's, if you're wondering why it's happening, right, it's exactly what we talk about every single day.
I got one for a J6er, a Give, Send, Go. You want to shout it out right now?
Oh, whatever you want to do, man.
I got one. That's on the other front. You have the economy, and then you have authoritarianism that's also hurting people. Eric Herrera. He's a photojournalist, nonviolent. 4 years. He's out right now because of a Supreme Court decision. They destroyed his life. He's done work with folks at the Daily Caller and a bunch of other groups, including myself, so I know him personally. But it's givesendgo.com/Eric with a K, J6 fundraiser. I'll put it up on social media. But yeah, no, they've destroyed his life, so he's trying to get back on his feet right now and paying for legal funds.
Yeah. All right. Dev says, Tim, can we all agree that we need a Kill Tony episode with Trump and Shane Gillis? I endorse. Donald Trump should do Kill Tony. No joke. Donald Trump. Trump is funny. He's witty. He's got it. Kill Tony with Trump would be huge. And you know they'd say yes. Someone's got to go to Trump and be like, Trump, go and kill Tony.
That's one of the better ideas I've heard recently. That's amazing.
I don't care if Trump's running for president. I would watch that show because it's good. Like, seriously, if someone asked Trump to do stand-up and said, let's do this. Let's film a stand-up special of Donald Trump. Look at his old tweets. I've never seen a thin person drinking Diet Coke. Like, that's right up there with
his Barney tweet with the nipples protruding. Very, very disrespectful.
Yes, it was so good.
His speeches give off stand-up vibes.
Absolutely.
Totally.
He's
When he was like, someone said to me that Chris Christie is a fat pig. I said, sir, we do not say that. We don't call him a fat pig. You can't do that. Oh, it was so good. When he said the endorsement about Bill Barr, he's like, I called him fat, lethargic, and incompetent, and because he endorsed me, I'm removing lethargic from the state.
and even Barr was laughing.
Yeah.
Was that on CNN? He was laughing on CNN about that. I mean, dude, nobody does it better. I was talking to somebody the other day about like the comparison between people that do it really well when it comes to hopping on media. Obviously, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
Expert level, surgeon when it comes to breaking down a conversation, you know? But Donald Trump, the less political side of things, just the personable, hilarious, saying stuff that sticks. You know, it is amazing what he can do in person. Nobody can do it like him.
He can do it in all kinds of formats. I mean, there's a reason that his posts live on in infamy. Or I still think about, you know, when the media was attacking him for saying he like fell asleep in the courtroom during one of his New York trials, and he was like, I wasn't sleeping. I was just resting my beautiful blue eyes.
Yeah. He's good.
I think about that regularly.
If they had Trump on Kill Tony, it would be probably the biggest podcast ever done. It might be one of the biggest comedy shows ever too.
Well,
because it's already a huge show with natural pull. Put Donald Trump on it, it amplifies it. But put Trump on doing comedy, that's the campaign play right now.
Lisa Reynolds sent me the one, or I think told me to watch the one with like fake Trump and Biden.
Shane Gillis. Was it Shane Gillis?
Yeah. And it was so funny what they were doing. But to your point about breaking records or anything like that, Trump, every single show he's on, he's breaking records. Everyone wants to listen to the guy talk. If he hopped on that show, it would do unbelievable numbers.
He's a funny guy.
He is.
If they go in there and say, we don't care about politics, let's be funny, Trump's going to be like, all right. And this is why The Apprentice was so popular. Because people like watching this guy. All right, Dex and Dice LLC says, Tim, is that an unlimited fast bond and lightning bolt in the case behind you? A graded dual land, Savannah? My shop is located 10 minutes from Clemson University. We should combine forces, build culture. I've messaged Ian, coffee shop, LGS together. Where's Clemson University?
Clemson's in South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina, eh? Behind me, I'm impressed. You noticed that. Did you notice the Alpha Bolt? See, it's a graded Alpha lightning bolt. And then I wonder if you can name any of the other cards, but I'm impressed you noticed that was a fast bond and a lightning bolt, unlimited. It is not a graded Savannah, unfortunately. It's actually 2 Savannahs. It's actually, I think, 4 or 5 Savannahs. So what you're seeing is a Savannah in a regular thin sleeve, and then behind it is the larger sleeve. But behind it, I think there's like 4 or 5 Savannahs. Anybody who knows anything about Magic the Gathering is probably going, oh my God. Oh.
Is this what it sounds like when people who don't skate hear skaters talking in skater terms?
Yes.
Because I just realized that must be what it's like as you were talking about Magic the
Welcome
Gathering.
to every day for me on this show.
Yeah. Yeah, dual. For those that don't know, Savannah is called a dual land. It's a single card that represents 2 different resources in one with no penalties. And they are 30 plus years old. They're from the original sets. They don't print them anymore. And they range in price from like $300 to $700. So hard to get if you are someone who plays the game and wants to build a deck utilizing multiple colors in your deck. So people get really excited for them. All right. Let's grab some more super chats. Where are we at? Jason Dixon says, Tim, the song Cotton Eye Joe is about getting tested for an STD. Is that true? So it felt like sharing. All right. Shout out to the Discord, please. He says, the culture is strong. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You want to sign up at timcast.com. Join the Discord server. It's huge, and there's workshops, there's shows. People are teaching each other stuff. There's pre-shows, morning shows, after shows. Dude, they're building a little mini internet city in there. It's fantastic.
It's amazing. Every time I feel like someone from the Discord calls in, they're like, okay, so on Sunday we're doing an art review, and then there's like always another new thing. It's amazing.
That's really cool.
What have we here? Ethos Arette says they're just going ahead with their own narrative of how the election is going. It's surreal how completely they are trying to overwrite reality in real time. Save trouble of rewriting it later, I guess. Yes.
Yep.
They're going to say the polls are showing Kamala's winning so that when the shadow campaign happens, they'll be like, but we told you she was winning. Maybe that's how elections have always been. Yeah.
I mean, you know, maybe Republicans were getting a little bit comfortable for a minute there.
Yeah.
We need a little bit of that propaganda behind Kamala to really spark that flame, get it going.
I do think that sometimes, though. Like, obviously, I was riding with Biden. I wanted him to stay in the race. He was, doing perfectly, in my opinion.
It was just a stutter.
He was authentic, and you guys didn't appreciate him. But,
right.
I do think conservative voters get complacent, and they should feel the urgency of the crisis that we have in this country. They should want to go to the polls.
That's right.
B. Walsh says, Caitlin Collins looks like Dylan Mulvaney.
Oh, God.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Dylan Mulvaney is a beautiful woman.
Of course, no, yeah.
That's like a compliment. Like, who was
right.
Like, you look like Lizzo.
It's a compliment.
Like, it's a compliment.
Like if someone came up to you and said, wow, you look like Brad Pitt, you'd be like, oh, wow, gee, thanks, right? If you walk up to someone and say, you look like Dylan Mulvaney, it's like you should feel the same way.
I don't think she's
that's absolutely
like unattractive. I think she's a pretty woman.
Lizzo?
No.
I said that.
Caitlyn.
I mean, she's like,
oh.
I think she's objectively like one of the more
The Why Show is
attractive.
grinning like that.
I don't know. I don't understand the grin. Okay, but if we're talking about all the talking heads on the left wing media, she's up there.
Look, I liked her outfit. I liked her hair. I don't need to listen to her.
there.
We can just look at her. She
Right.
talk.
I think it's safe to say she's better looking than Dylan Mulvaney. Okay.
Hold on.
Don't,
that's rude.
Look, the reality is just that
Dylan's
she doesn't have the capabilities to do the job they're trying to put her in. It's like, come on, guys. She doesn't have charisma. But maybe that's on purpose. I mean, like Chris Cuomo doesn't either. Don Lemon doesn't either.
Before the town hall, they were saying, that she's been one of these up and comers. They've been really trying to cultivate her. This is going to be a big moment. And she didn't do well. And so I think there is a level of like, either they don't know how to judge what performs well with the audience, or, people who are given opportunities at CNN tend to flop. There's some kind of disconnect somewhere.
Last Friday, there were something like 30,000+ tweets about me. And I have no idea why. Oh, wait, no, it's because I endorsed RFK Jr. and then backtracked. But it was funny because there were reports saying
his response
after
was so
pressure.
sad.
Yeah, I know. People were like, oh, I was mean to him.
He had a good, he's like, I'll be here waiting. He had a good comeback,
Okay, cool.
But it's just I was just thinking about this because for reasons unbeknownst to me, you've got these leftist YouTubers like Sam Cedar who literally all they do is sit and watch my show because they have nothing to add. And they're just like, let's just I don't know, talk about Tim Pool. So it's like if you watch the Sam Seder Tim Pool report, you want to learn about me, watch Sam for that. I get it. But it is kind of weird. Caitlin Collins, Chris Cuomo, Don Lemon, these other personalities, they don't have that. Where, and I'm not, it's not like a humble brag or anything. I'm just saying, like, for whatever reason, the Washington Post wrote about me and I was trending on that. CNN doesn't hire people who have that kind of, like,
Fire.
Whatever it is, controversy, I guess. Like, people want to insult and rag on me and just say my name. Like, I'm certainly nowhere near Trump, but Trump's the epitome of this X factor, where just like everybody must talk about Trump. Mm-hmm. CNN like tries to avoid hiring people. So that's why they end up with like Caitlin Collins, Don Lemon, and Chris Cuomo.
Well, I was going to say she's pretty bland. Don Lemon maybe had a little bit more of people talking about him when it came to, you know what I mean? He just a little bit more of that.
Because he was dumb.
No, I'm not saying because it's a good thing. I'm saying just in general, like. People seem to talk about him a decent amount, but I don't know. He just keeps doing really stupid stuff. Isn't he suing Elon Musk right now?
I don't think the journalists who are like on the right feel the need to write these hit pieces trying to slander people, because you just have to listen to them to realize that they're full of crap. But they don't want people to listen to someone like Tim. They want to scare people away from him, make him think he's like this big bad super villain.
But I don't. I'm just saying, like, for whatever reason, Sam Seder just makes like a video about me every other day.
It's probably just good content. There's something going on. It's interesting.
You're popular.
No, I'm saying like
he's just thinking about you.
Why do I matter? Like, why are you talking about me? Like, I'm not a politician. I'm just some dude on the internet complaining.
You have huge influence.
Well,
that's what relate to what you're saying.
I guess what I'm saying is just like the guy from the Washington Post is like, oh, Tim Pool has like a skate park. Let me write a fake story about it, and then I was trending on Washington Post. What my point is that there's a variety of people who have varying degrees of that, whatever it is that makes people want to talk about. Caitlin Collins is zero. You know, Don Lemon, I want to say this. Trump calls Kamala Harris stupid, and they're like, that's racist. And I'm like, dude, Don Lemon and Kamala Harris are dumb people. That's not racist to say, okay? Because Thomas Sowell is like one of the smartest people. It has nothing to do with race. Anyone could be stupid or smart. But how about this? When Donald Trump criticized Kamala Harris as being stupid and you get mad about it being racist, why don't you go talk about Donald Trump's praise for Larry Elder? Why don't you go talk about all of the super intelligent things Larry Elder does? Is that racist to say? No, it's you guys want to make everything about race because you have nothing else to offer.
He's also really close to Ben Carson. He's hardly stupid out. I mean, come on.
And if they're saying it's racist, is that them admitting that there's some sort of relationship between race and IQ?
Exactly. I mean, that's them saying, I'm like,
what are we doing here?
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, let's we'll we're going to go to that members only uncensored show. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. Share the show if you like it, because that's what makes podcasts grow. It's really just word of mouth. And follow me on X at Timcast, as well as Instagram. And we're going to have the members-only show coming up. Like I said, smash the like button. James, do you want to shout anything out?
Twitter, MySpace, Real James Klug. And then we have YouTube at James Klug. And also, you guys, check out that Give, Send, Go that I mentioned. I put it up on my Twitter. So thanks. Appreciate you guys having me.
Right on.
And you can check me out on X at TM Silverman or Instagram Taylor May Silverman, and go check out the YouTube channel Boonies HQ for skate content that we film right here at Timcast.
It's been so fun having you here. It's been a lively episode today. I'm Hannah Claire Bremlo. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. That's Scanner News. Check out their work at Timcast News on the internet. If you want to follow me on the internet, I'm on Instagram at hannahclaire.b, and I'm on Twitter or X at hannahclaireb. Thanks for everything you guys do. Have a great night.
We will see you all over at timcast.com in about a minute for this members-only show. We've got some big stories, but we also will be tracking the Minnesota House results, waiting to hear if Ilhan Omar lost. So go to timcast.com, and we'll see you there in a few minutes.